Chapter 341. When Zhang San heard this, he was stunned. Yi Chun was very strict and did not allow for any objections. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Yi Chun's words were completely aimed at his shortcomings. He truly had a bad temper and loved to drink. Zhang San knew his own personality very well. Moreover, he was certain that this was the first time he had met Yi Chun. But Yi Chun had pointed out his shortcomings the moment they met. How could Zhang San not be stunned? When Yi Chun saw Zhang San in a daze, his eyes widened and he shouted, "You're not willing." Yi Chun was naturally faking it. His goal was for Zhang San to remember these 2 points so that he would not end up in the same tragic state as in history. This fellow was famous for his bad temper in history. Of course, he was also very loyal. However, because of his bad temper and love to drink, 2 traitorous subordinates found an opportunity to cut off his head. Yi Chun naturally would not accept such subordinates. Yi Chun would look at any officer's name and background. If he encountered a famous traitor in history, Yi Chun would definitely kill him without mercy. When Yi Chun's angry words fell, Zhang San did not dare to remain in a daze. He hurriedly bowed and said, "This general obeys. This general swears that he will not casually beat up soldiers, much less drink in the army." Very good. Remember, a man's promise is as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Do not go back on your words. Do not let me hear that you have lost your life because of your recklessness. I will be very disappointed. When Yi Chun heard this, he nodded in satisfaction and said. When Zhang San heard this, he finally understood why Yi Chun had repeatedly warned him. This was to warn him that if he acted recklessly, it was very likely that something irreversible would happen. For example, a mutiny, a sneak attack, and so on. And the result of that was very likely to be his death. When he thought of this, Zhang San's heart immediately warmed. He nodded heavily and bowed, saying loudly, "Yes, my lord." At this moment, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for being the 4th to obtain the loyalty of the historical generals Zhang San and Zhang Yida. Special reward to player Yi Chun, 10 million gold taels. The world announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, instantly exploding in the world channel. F***CK. F***CK. Was there a mistake? Wasn't the Oath of the Peach Garden activated? Why did Yi Chun take in Zhang San? That's right. This is 2 F***King fake. Previously, he took in Guan Air. Now he took in Zhang San. Without Guan Air and Zhang San, how can he still talk about the Oath of the 3 in the Peach Garden? Mother F***Ker, there's no justice in this world. Yi Chun already has 3 super first-rate historical generals, and now he's taken in Zhang San. F***CK. Can we still play this game happily? Yi Chun, you can't monopolize all the benefits. You have to consider others. How many historical generals have you taken in? F***CK. Can't you give others a way out? Idiot, if you have the ability, go and take them in too. There's no use being jealous. Also, you have to be convinced. Boss Yi Chun is just too awesome. Hee. Boss Yi Chun, continue taking them in. Take them all. Let those Lord-level players be flustered and exasperated. Stop F***King fooling around. I just want to know if the Oath of the 3 in the Peach Garden quest still exists. F***CK. I just set out, and Yi Chun took in Zhang San. F***CK. If there's no Oath of the 3 in the Peach Garden quest, then I won't go to Zhou County. It should still be there. I didn't hear the world announcement saying that the Oath of the 3 in the Peach Garden was cancelled. F***CK. Guan Air has been taken in by Yi Chun. Zhang San has also been taken in by Yi Chun. That idiot royal Uncle Lu no longer has anyone to trick. The Oath of the 3 in the Peach Garden won't appear. Bullshit, the quest is still there. I just don't know who will replace Guan Air and Zhang San. It doesn't matter who replaces them. Royal Uncle Lu is done for. He only made his fortune because of Guan Air and Zhang San. Without the 2 of them, Royal Uncle Lu is just a straw sandal seller. What does this have to do with you? No matter how miserable Royal Uncle Lu is, he is still Royal Uncle Lu. However, without Guan Air and Zhang San, Royal Uncle Lu is worthless. The quest can choose to stop the Oath of the Three in the Peach Garden. The world announcement was abuzz. The players were all agitated by Yi Chun taking in Zhang San. No one had expected that Yi Chun would still take in Zhang San even after the Oath of the Three in the Peach Garden had been activated. After glancing at the world announcement, Yi Chun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He then looked at Zhang San and asked, "Ida, did Royal Uncle Lu look for you?" "Royal Uncle Lu?" Zhang San was stunned when he heard this. After thinking for a moment, he said, "My lord, are you talking about the straw sandal seller, Royal Uncle Lu, Lu Xuanda?" Yi Chun nodded and said, "That's him. My lord, Lu Xuanda didn't look for me. Why did my lord bring him up?" Zhang San shook his head and asked doubtfully. Yi Chun couldn't help but smile when he heard this. He then said, "It's fine. I heard that this person is full of lies and his skin is thicker than a city wall. He frequently cries to move people, so I wanted to see how shameless he is." Yi Chun was naturally talking about the real Royal Uncle Lu. However, it had to be said that Royal Uncle Lu's methods were very useful in this era. Otherwise, why would he dare to call himself a member of the Great Han royal family? Moreover, he frequently bemoaned the state of the universe and pitted the fate of mankind. When he was moved, he would cry. When he was agitated, he would cry. In an instant, he would be able to trick Guan Er and Zhang San. In the end, he even tricked a large group of people to help him conquer the world. Simply put, the big-eared thief Royal Uncle Lu was well-versed in the art of deception. It was because of this that he became one of the overlords of the Three Kingdoms. As for asking Zhang San, Yi Chun also wanted to confirm whether Zhang San had been tricked by the big-eared thief Royal Uncle Lu. If he'd been tricked by the big-eared thief, Yi Chun would naturally think of a way to minimize the influence of the big-eared thief on Zhang San. Now that he heard the exact answer, Yi Chun was naturally relieved. When Zhang San heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he said with a disgusted expression, "This person is so shameless, crying at the slightest provocation. Isn't that a sissy?" Ida is right. This kind of man is not fit to be called a man. A real man should go to the battlefield and kill enemies. How can he cry like a sissy? Guan Er immediately said with disdain. When Yi Chun heard this, he couldn't help but be startled. Then he smiled. Guan Er and Zhang San had historically been Royal Uncle Lu's followers. Now that they had been subdued by Yi Chun, they naturally wouldn't participate in the 3 vows of the Peach Garden. Without the 3 vows of the Peach Garden, if Guan Er and Zhang San went to see Royal Uncle Lu again, even if they heard Yi Chun say it, they would naturally feel disdain for someone like Royal Uncle Lu. Furthermore, they would feel that Royal Uncle Lu was not fit to be called a man. "Ah, I forgot to greet you. Don't blame me, don't blame me." Zhang San suddenly thought of something and hastily looked at Guan Er. After saying this, he took the initiative to step forward and clasped his fists. "Yojo Zhang San, Zhang Ida greets brother Yinchang. Hadong's Guan Er, Guan Yinchang greets brother Ida." Guan Er hastily clasped his fists in return. Zhang San once again clasped his fists and then looked at Gui Yi. "Yojo Zhang San, Zhang Ida greets Chancellor Gua. Ingchuan, Gui Yi, Gua Fengshao greets brother Ida." Gui chuckled as he returned the greeting. Yi Chun looked at the 3 people greeting each other and smiled slightly. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly froze and looked at the World Channel. "Holy shit, I saw Royal Uncle Lu. He's crying and hugging 2 men. Chapter 342. F***CK. Really? Is the Oath of the Peach Garden quest still active? Nonsense. If it was cancelled, there would have been a world announcement. If it wasn't, it means it's still active. The 2 people hugging Emperor Lu must be the 2 people who replaced Guan Er and Zhang San. I wonder who they are. It doesn't matter who they are. What's important is whether to help Emperor Lu or stop him. I think it's best to stop him. Previously, Zhang San was there. If we didn't want Yi Chun to take Zhang San, we had to help Emperor Lu. But Yi Chun is too crazy. He took Zhang San. Then we shouldn't go against Yi Chun. If this continues, it won't benefit us. I think so too. Yi Chun will definitely fight for hegemony in the future. He won't help Emperor Liu, so it's best to stop him. F***CK, you guys are stupid. If you don't help Yi Chun when you know he wants to fight for hegemony, wouldn't you be helping Yi Chun eliminate his future competitors? Without Guan Er and Zhang San, Emperor Liu is nothing. What's the point of helping him? F***CK. Don't forget that Emperor Liu's future subordinates are not only Guan Er and Zhang San, but also Liang Fulong and Ma Chao. There are many capable people. I still choose to help Emperor Liu. Yi Chun is already awesome enough. We can't let him continue being awesome. I think you guys should consider whose territory Zhuo County belongs to before deciding whether to help or stop him. The World Channel was abuzz again because of Emperor Liu's news. Yi Chun glanced at it and curled his lips in disdain. Many players wanted to support Emperor Liu and help him develop his hegemony. They wanted to use this method to stop Yi Chun's rise. They did not hide their intentions. At the end of the day, it was because of their despicable human nature. Some people were envious and jealous, so they wanted to stop Yi Chun's rise. Some people were afraid that Yi Chun would steal the benefits that belonged to them, so they wanted to stop Yi Chun. Of course, there were also some people who could see the reality clearly. Therefore, they chose to stop Royal Uncle Liu. They did not want to become enemies with Yi Chun. However, many of these people would choose to snatch the biggest reward, such as killing Royal Uncle Liu. Although no one said it, Yi Chun could tell. It was precisely because Yi Chun could tell what these players were thinking that he was disdainful of them. Regardless of whether they wanted to stop Yi Chun's rise or snatch the biggest benefits from Yi Chun would not be polite to them. To Yi Chun, if he could get 100% of the benefits, he definitely wouldn't stop at 90%. Other players might be able to guess the benefits of killing Liu Royal Uncle, but how could Yi Chun not? Thinking of this, Yi Chun narrowed his eyes, a cold light flashing in them. No matter who it was that wanted to replace Guan Er and Zhang San, Royal Uncle Liu must die. Just as Yi Chun finished thinking, the world announcement sounded. Ding! The Oath of the Peach Garden has officially begun. During this period, death will not be punished. Ding! The location of the Oath of the Peach Garden is Zhang San, Zhang Ida Manor in Zhuo County. Only human players are allowed to enter. Ding! The Zhuo County teleportation circle has been activated. It will last until the end of the quest. Human players can use the teleportation circle in the major cities to teleport to Zhuo County and participate in the quest. The world announcement was repeated 3 times, instantly causing the world channel to explode. Holy shit, the Oath of the Peach Garden has really begun. Ah, you scared me. I was thinking that the Oath of the Peach Garden would start so quickly. I haven't even reached Zhuo County yet. Now, the teleportation circle can be used. Hee hee, death will not be punished. This is too good. I'll choose to help Royal Uncle Liu. The best part is that only players can enter. Ha ha. Even if Yi Chun participates, it will be him. What's there to worry about? Hee hee. This F***king game is finally fair. As long as Yi Chun doesn't lead troops, it will be him. This way, we all have a chance. Charge. What are you waiting for? Let's go to Zhuo County. The world channel was noisy, but the teleportation circle in Zhuo County quickly lit up and never went out. Groups of players were teleported to Zhuo County. The moment they arrived, the players began to shout. Where is Zhang San's village? Does anyone know? Brothers in Zhuo County, who knows where Zhang San's village is? Hurry up and say it. We're here to help you. Stop wasting time. Just follow them and see where they go. We will definitely find it. The number of players teleported to Zhuo County increased by the second. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, there were over 1 million players. If not for the teleportation circle speed limit, this number would have increased by 10 times or even 100 times. Originally, there would not be so many players coming to Zhuo County because the teleportation circle had not been activated. More importantly, the players knew that Yuzhou was Yi Chun's territory. Coming here to fight for benefits with Yi Chun was just asking for death. But now, the teleportation circle had been activated. Moreover, only players could participate in the Oath of the Peach Garden. They could not bring soldiers. This meant that if Yi Chun wanted to participate, only Yi Chun could go. In the eyes of the players, no matter how strong Yi Chun was, he was only one person. If he did not bring soldiers, how could he summon a white tiger? If he could not summon a white tiger, Yi Chun would not be able to kill anyone. There was nothing to worry about. Yi Chun might die in real life if he killed someone, but no one thought that he would be the unlucky one. The reason why the players were so crazy was because of the heaven-defying rewards. Any mission that could be announced in the World Channel would definitely have a high reward. No one was willing to give up this opportunity to rise up. Zhuo County, City Lord's mansion, in front of the door. After hearing the world announcement, Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. He then looked at Gua Yi and said, "That's right. Feng Shao, stay in the City Lord's mansion. When Su Shuang arrives, buy all of the wrought iron he has. Remember all of it." "Yes, Lord. My Lord." Gua Yi was slightly surprised when he heard this, but he quickly bowed. Gua Yi already knew that Yi Chun wanted to use wrought iron to forge a weapon for Guan Er. However, Gua Yi did not know what Yi Chun wanted to do. Even though he did not know, Gua Yi would not casually ask about it. This was because if Yi Chun wanted to say it, he would not hide it. Yi Chun looked at Guan Er and Zhang San. His expression was solemn as he said, "The two of you will be in charge of the City Lord's mansion's defenses. The Samsara Legion will be temporarily taken over by the two of you. Remember, no matter who it is, if anyone dares to trespass the City Lord's mansion, kill them without mercy." Once the Oath of the Peach Garden storyline was activated, Zhuo County would definitely attract a large number of players. If someone dared to plot against Yi Chun or plotted against Yi Chun, and Yi Chun was not prepared, then there would be a lot of trouble. As for Yi Chun, he did not care about schemes and plots. Yi Chun did not care about them. This was because the current Yi Chun had the strength to completely ignore the attacks of this world's players. However, Yi Chun still had Gua Yi as one of his subordinates. Gui did not have much strength. If the players took advantage of this loophole and killed Gua Yi, then it would be too late. Even though Yi Chun had the Yang returning pill and could revive the dead, that was under the condition that the body was in perfect condition. If the players really targeted Gua Yi and chopped him to pieces or beheaded him, then even the Yang returning pill would be useless. Thus, Yi Chun had to be prepared in advance to prevent others from taking advantage of this loophole. When Guan Er and Zhang San heard this, they were both stunned. Then they bowed and said, "Yes, my lord." The two of them did not know what Yi Chun was going to do, but Yi Chun's tone was very serious, so they did not dare to delay. When Gua Yi heard this, he immediately reacted. Something must have happened in Zhuo County. Otherwise, Yi Chun would not have given such an order. Thinking of this, Gua Yi quickly bowed and said, "My lord, why don't you bring some soldiers from the Samsara Legion?" When Yi Chun heard this, he could not help but smile. Then he said, "No need. Where I want to go, none of you can enter." When Gua Yi, Zhang San, and Guan Er heard this, they were all stunned. Then they bowed and said, "Congratulations on your triumphant return, my lord." It was obvious that the three of them knew that there were some special places that they could not enter. Otherwise, they would not have said this. Yi Chun chuckled and nodded. Then, he turned and walked towards the peach garden behind Zhang San's manor. Chapter 343. The Zhuo County City Lord residence was not far from the teleportation portal, so Yi Chun quickly arrived at the teleportation portal. At this moment, Zhuo County Main Street was filled with people, and there was no place to step. It had only been a few minutes since the Oath of Peach Garden was officially announced. However, in this short period of time, Zhuo County Main Street was completely occupied by players. Without exception, the players were all rushing towards the Peach Garden behind Zhang Sanjuan. Everyone wanted to run, but they could not run. There were too many people, so many that it was terrifying. Shouts and curses came one after another. Yi Chun looked at the dense crowd and raised his eyebrows. Then, he leaped and instantly appeared above the players. Pong! The moment Yi Chun landed, he stepped on a player's head. He exerted some strength and dashed forward. In a breath's time, Yi Chun was 100 meters away. The number of players that Yi Chun stepped on was more than 10. Without exception, All of them staggered and bumped into the players behind them. When they recovered from their stupefied state, they were immediately enraged. Without hesitation, they charged at Yi Chun, who was running away, and cursed, "Damn! How dare you step on my head? You must be tired of living. Mother of asterisk cur, get down here. I'm going to kill you. That brat, if you have the guts, stop right there." The curses came one after another, but Yi Chun did not care. He continued to step on people's heads and dashed towards the peach garden behind Zhang Sanjuan. There were many players, but the peach garden was only so big. There was a limit to the number of people that could enter. Yi Chun naturally would not waste time with these people. Yi Chun had thought about entering the peach garden in advance, but he could not do so. Even though Yi Chun was the Lord of Yuzhou, he did not have this privilege. This was because once the Oath of Peach Garden storyline was released, the peach garden could not be entered. Even if one was inside, they would be ejected. It was like this in his previous life. No one could enter, and players who happened to enter the peach garden would be ejected. Only when the Oath of the Peach Garden officially began would players be allowed to enter the peach garden. Therefore, when Yi Chun arrived at Zhuo Commandery, he didn't even think about waiting there. Because there was no need for that, they could just go there after it was activated. If the peach garden was full, it didn't matter. They could just charge in. Not to mention the fact that players could attack at will during the historical storyline. Even if they were not in the historical storyline, Yi Chun would not care. To Yi Chun, anyone who stood in his way was an enemy. If they were an enemy, there was no need to be polite. He would just kill them. Yi Chun stepped on people's heads as he walked forward. As more and more people were stepped on, the curses became louder and louder. It quickly attracted the attention of the players in front of him. When one of the players turned his head to take a look, he was stunned. Right at this moment, Yi Chun leaped over. The player who discovered Yi Chun's identity immediately screamed, "Yi Chun! He's Yi Chun!" With this shout, the players who had been cursing and scolding each other shut their mouths in unison and shuddered all of a sudden. They were frightened because no one expected that the person who dared to step on their heads would be Yi Chun. And the players who were about to curse swallowed their words back into their stomachs. Then, they acted as if nothing had happened. It was as if they weren't the ones being stepped on. Yi Chun's tyranny, savagery, and arrogance were deeply ingrained in people's hearts. No matter how angry these players who had their heads stepped on by Yi Chun were, they didn't dare to curse Yi Chun in front of Yi Chun. Those who had cursed before were all terrified. They were afraid that Yi Chun would come back and kill them. However, Yi Chun didn't care about them. After Yi Chun left, the players who had cursed before finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then, their expressions turned ugly. "Damn, Yi Chun, that bastard. He's a bully." That's right. Isn't he just relying on the fact that he's a warrior sage and a lord of Yuzhou? What's there to be proud of? This time, I chose to stop Emperor Liu. This time, no matter what, I will snatch the reward from Yi Chun's hands. I also chose to stop Emperor Liu. This way, there won't be any conflict with Yi Chun. After all, we're all plotting against Emperor Liu. When the time comes, we'll all attack together. We definitely won't let Yi Chun take the lead. That's right. Yi Chun is too pretentious. He actually stepped on my head and didn't even greet us. Stop wasting time. Let's go. Damn, I suddenly remembered that Peach Garden can't be infinitely big. With so many of us here, who can enter? Who can participate in this quest? F***K. I hope those people in front can block Yi Chun and prevent Yi Chun from entering Peach Garden. That would be the best. The players who had their heads stepped on by Yi Chun were discussing amongst themselves. Meanwhile, Yi Chun was constantly approaching Peach Garden. Just as Yi Chun saw Zhang San's manor, a loud shout suddenly rang out. Yi Chun is alone. This opportunity will not come again. Attack. Kill him. Killing him will weaken his strength. Furthermore, he won't be able to participate in this quest. That's right. Kill Yi Chun. This is a rare opportunity. If we miss it, it'll be gone. As long as we kill him, the reward for this quest will be ours. Attack. Kill Yi Chun. Everyone, don't miss this opportunity. Yi Chun is alone now. If each of us gives him a hit, we'll be able to kill him. No matter how powerful he is, he's alone. He won't be able to cause any trouble. The troublemakers shouted one after another. They wanted to incite the players to deal with Yi Chun so that they could kill Yi Chun. Yi Chun, who had just leaped up, opened his eyes wide when he heard this. Do they really think that I'm alone and they can easily deal with me? Thinking of this, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. He waved his right hand, and the thick black godslayer appeared instantly. At this moment, the players below Yi Chun looked at each other. Then, they summoned their weapons in unison and stabbed at Yi Chun. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that Yi Chun had nowhere to hide to kill Yi Chun in one fell swoop. Looking at the glowing eyes of the players below, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. He waved the godslayer in his right hand. Woo! The sound of something breaking through the air was instantly heard. A black light flashed past. Kacha! 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 Dozens of sounds were heard. The weapons that were attacking Yi Chun were instantly sliced apart by the godslayer. Then, they turned into dust and scattered with the wind. When the players who attacked Yi Chun saw this, their eyes were filled with regret. They were very excited just now because they saw an opportunity to kill Yi Chun. However, the cruel reality once again woke them up. Yi Chun was overbearing, unreasonable, and ruthless. He was also a warrior sage. Moreover, he had a godslayer that could destroy equipment and kill people. They should have asked someone else to do it. This was what they were thinking at this moment. Chapter 344. Just as the players who attacked first were regretting their actions, Yi Chun landed and stepped on the head of one of the players. This time, Yi Chun didn't use any tricks. He stepped on the head directly. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The head of the player who was stepped on by Yi Chun instantly exploded. Red and white matter splattered everywhere. Crack, crack, crack. A series of bone-cracking sounds were heard. The player who was stepped on by Yi Chun was instantly killed. His body was also smashed into pieces. At this moment, the god-slaying spear in Yi Chun's right hand struck out mercilessly. Woo! Poochie, poochie, poochie. The sound of bodies being cut apart was heard. In the next second, heads rolled, broken limbs flew, and bright red blood splattered in all directions. Bang, bang, bang. A series of body explosions were heard. Any player that was struck by the god-slaying spear would have their bodies blasted into pieces. Yi Chun's brutality caused the players to panic. They were all reminded of the legend of Yi Chun's brutality, dominance, and arrogance. Yi Chun was alone at the moment. However, Yi Chun was the strongest player in the human race. He was also the strongest player in the game. He wasn't someone they could fight against. Just as the players were panicking, Yi Chun leaped towards the player who provoked them. The people around the player who provoked them hurriedly ran away. They didn't dare to stay there. They were afraid that Yi Chun would kill them. Those who were killed by Yi Chun would die in real life too. The chances were very high. However, to their surprise, when Yi Chun landed on the ground, the god-slaying spear did not attack them at all. It only attacked the person who had provoked them. Yi Chun was cold-blooded, overbearing, and merciless. He killed his enemies without mercy, and he had killed many of them. However, Yi Chun was not a person who killed indiscriminately. Yi Chun naturally wouldn't bother with these people who didn't provoke Yi Chun, let alone kill them. Poochie! A sound was heard. Godslayer instantly poked a huge hole in the player who was trying to sow discord. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The player's body exploded into pieces. Blood, organs, intestines, and bone fragments splattered all over the surrounding players. Yi Chun did not even look. He leapt up again, and again. Only after the 36th time did he stop. Then he leapt up again, stepping on heads as he rushed towards the peach garden. Although these people were very far away from Yi Chun, they were all within the range of Yi Chun's essence spear's perception. Even if Yi Chun did not see them, he would be able to sense who had instigated them. Yi Chun left. The players immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Damn it, it's all those idiots' fault for making such a ruckus. Otherwise, why would Yi Chun be angry? Luckily, I'm smart. I didn't think of making a move. I'm not like those idiots who actually dare to make a move on Yi Chun. Did they really think that a saint-level general like Yi Chun was so easy to kill? I saw a person who had advanced to king-level general fight a fort master one-on-one. In less than 3 rounds, he was killed. That fort master was not even comparable to a third-rate historical general, yet he was so awesome. On the other hand, Yi Chun could easily kill a first-rate historical general. Just think about it. Yi Chun is a maniac. How could he possibly kill Yi Chun? Luckily, Yi Chun wasn't completely enraged. Otherwise, if he gave the order, we wouldn't be able to leave Zhuo County. That's right. Damn it. If any idiots try to sow discord, brothers, don't hold back. Just kill them so that they don't drag us down. That's right. Kill those idiots who are trying to sow discord. They must be lords who want us to take action so that they can reap the benefits. While the players were discussing with lingering fear, Yi Chun had already arrived outside the peach garden. Glancing at the thin barrier, Yi Chun raised his eyebrows and charged in. Zhuo County's peach garden. The peach blossoms were in full bloom. The fragrance of the flowers was pleasant. Unfortunately, no matter how beautiful the scenery was or how strong the fragrance of the flowers was, it couldn't conceal the gradually thickening, killing intent in the air. At this moment, the number of players in the peach garden had reached 100,000. It could be said to be a sea of people. Of course, if the peach garden wasn't big enough, it wouldn't be able to contain so many players. Looking at the dense crowd, Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. Then, he leaped up and charged in, stepping on heads. Although Yi Chun couldn't see the situation in front of him because of the peach trees, this didn't hinder Yi Chun's judgment. At this moment, Royal Uncle Lu and the 2 people who had replaced Guan Er and Zhang San were already waiting there. However, the time wasn't up yet. Once it was up, they would officially become sworn brothers. Stepping on heads, Yi Chun quickly arrived at the center of the peach garden. Then he saw Royal Uncle Lu, who was dressed in plain clothes and had a pair of protruding ears. The moment he saw Royal Uncle Lu, Yi Chun's eyes narrowed. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Big-eared thief, Royal Uncle Lu, today is the day you die. Thinking of this, Yi Chun looked at the 2 men beside Royal Uncle Lu. The moment he saw them, Yi Chun couldn't help but be taken aback. F***CK. Why are they Liang Chun and Wenwen? Yi Chun never would have thought that Guan Er and Zhang San would be replaced by Yin Liang and Wenwen. Although the 2 of them were not super first-rate historical generals, they were still outstanding figures among first-rate historical generals. According to history, Yin Liang and Wenwen would follow Yuan Shao and be put in an important position. Who would have thought that Royal Uncle Lu would intercept Yuan Shao? This big-eared thief really knew how to trick people. Even without Guan Er and Zhang San, he still managed to trick 2 top-class historical generals. Thinking of this, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. Then, he continued forward. After a few steps, he arrived at the innermost area. Bang! Yi Chun landed heavily on ground. When the player who was suddenly blocked by Yi Chun saw this, he was instantly enraged and yelled. He shouted, "Are you F***king looking to die? How dare you block me?" When Yi Chun heard this, he immediately frowned. Without even looking, he sent out a slap. Slap! The player who had just spoken rudely was instantly sent flying by Yi Chun. He crashed into the crowd. Slash! 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 Before this player could land, he was cut to pieces by the players below him. Then, he turned into white light and revived. The players who attacked didn't want to be hit by this player. They didn't want to be a human cushion. It had to be known that this was a crucial period. The oath of the 3 was about to begin. If they were hit by him, they might be injured or even knocked unconscious. It wouldn't be worth it. Who told Yi Chun's slap to not only send the player flying, but also send him flying so high? Yi Chun didn't turn his head, but the surrounding players all looked at Yi Chun without exception. To be able to send someone flying with a slap, there was no doubt about his strength. To these participating players, this was a strong competitor. How could they not observe him? This observation was not a big deal, but it instantly attracted the sound of people sucking in cold air. The players in the inner circle didn't expect that the person who rushed to the front would be Yi Chun. Just a moment ago, they were still surprised and even overjoyed. This was because they didn't see Yi Chun. As long as Yi Chun wasn't here, They would have the opportunity to obtain the greatest benefits. But not long after this joy appeared, Yichen arrived. He sent a person flying with a slap, as if he was swatting a bug. It was simple and easy. To the players, the person they didn't want to see the most was Yichen. This was because they were afraid of Yichen. They were afraid of Yichen. It was also because they knew that once Yichen arrived, the benefits they obtained from this mission would be severely reduced. Chapter 345. Yichen noticed the gazes of the players and knew what they were thinking. Apart from fear, they also felt indignant and suppressed anger. Regardless of what they were thinking, Yichen ignored them. To Yichen, he had to succeed in this mission. There was no way he would just give away the benefits to someone else. Although Yichen didn't know what the specific rewards were, Yichen was certain that if he succeeded, the reward would be unimaginably good. In the middle of the peach orchard, Royal Uncle Lu looked at the sea of players with a puzzled expression. He didn't know why he had attracted so many spectators when he became sworn brothers with Yan Liang and Wen Wen. He also didn't know why there were so many people with murderous intent and some with kind intentions. Although he did not understand, Royal Uncle Lu's expression remained the same, without the slightest change. Big brother, many of these people have evil intentions. Why don't I chase them away? Liang Chan glanced at the spectating players and then looked at Royal Uncle Lu and asked, "Second brother, there's no need to do that. This is Zhua County, and the General of Agile Cavalry is here. I'm sure ordinary people won't dare to cause trouble. Let's just become sworn brothers," Royal Uncle Lu said with a smile. "But these people are too despicable. How dare they release their murderous intent on the three of us? If I don't kill them, I won't be able to swallow my anger." Wen Wen shouted furiously, "Third brother, they might have some misunderstanding about us." "Don't be rash," Royal Uncle Lu said hurriedly. His expression changed slightly. From Royal Uncle Lu's point of view, many of the players had evil intentions towards the three of them. He could also feel it. Although he was unhappy, he couldn't say it out loud. If he did, wouldn't he be making enemies? At this moment, Royal Uncle Lu's ambition had just risen because of Liang Chun and Wen Wen. He didn't want to make enemies everywhere. "Yes, big brother." Hearing this, Wen Wen unwillingly bowed and replied. Royal Uncle Lu glanced at Wen Wen, then smilingly nodded his head. At this moment, a loud shout was heard. "Royal Uncle Lu, you have to be careful. The General of Agile Cavalry, Yichen, wants to kill you." When Royal Uncle Lu heard this, his expression changed. How could Royal Uncle Lu not know who the General of Agile Cavalry was? Not only did Royal Uncle Lu know, but he was also going to pay a visit to Yichen. But now, someone suddenly said that Yichen wanted to kill him. How could Royal Uncle Lu remain calm? What? Both Good Chun and Wen Wen's eyes widened as they looked at the player who had spoken. Yichen narrowed his eyes as he looked at the player who had warned Emperor Lu. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. This player had obviously chosen to help Lu Huang complete the 3 vows of the Peach Garden. He did not want Royal Uncle Lu to be killed by Yichen while he was unprepared. There was no point in reminding him. Royal Uncle Lu was dead for sure. Thinking of this, Yichen smiled coldly. At this moment, the player who spoke earlier shouted again. "Yichen is here. Do you see that black-robed man? He's in the north. That's Yichen." Swoosh! When Royal Uncle Lu, Good Chun, and Wen Wen heard this, they all looked to the north. Soon, they saw Yichen. In the next second, Royal Uncle Lu said without hesitation, "Second brother, kill this person who framed the General of Agile Cavalry." "Yes, big brother." Good Chun immediately bowed and replied. His figure moved, and he arrived in front of the player who had just spoken. "Royal Uncle Lu, you want to kill me? I'm on your side." The player who had warned Royal Uncle Lu was shocked. He hurriedly shouted at Royal Uncle Lu. However, what greeted him was a merciless punch from Good Chun. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The player's head exploded like a watermelon. Then, he turned into white light and resurrected. Good Chun did not even look at the player. He walked up to Royal Uncle Lu and said, "Big brother, that thief has been killed." Royal Uncle Lu nodded. Then, He looked at Liang Chun and Wen and said seriously, "My two brothers, let's go and pay our respects to the great general of agile cavalry. He is the god of war of our great Han Empire." Good Chun and Wen looked at each other. Then, they nodded with heavy expressions. Clearly, they were still thinking about the words of the player who had just been killed. The general of agile cavalry of the great Han Empire, Yi Chun, wanted to kill their soon-to-be sworn brother. When Royal Uncle Lu saw this, he hurriedly signaled to the two with his eyes. He wanted to tell Good Chun and Wen not to be so nervous. Although Good Chun and Wen were generals, they were not stupid. They immediately understood Royal Uncle Lu's meaning. Then, they followed Royal Uncle Lu to Yi Chun. As soon as he arrived in front of Yi Chun, Royal Uncle Lu bowed respectfully and worshipped him. Royal Uncle Lu of Yuzhou, Lu Xuanda, pays respects to the general of agile cavalry. Good Chun, Wen, pays respects to the general of agile cavalry. Good Chun and Wen also bowed. When Yi Chun saw this, he couldn't help but furrow his brows. What a good Royal Uncle Lu. What a good big-eared thief. As expected, he was treacherous and insidious. Royal Uncle Lu wanted Good Chun to kill the player who had warned him. This was enough to prove Royal Uncle Lu's insidiousness. And now, Royal Uncle Lu clearly knew that Yi Chun wanted to kill him. Yet, he still ran over to greet him with a humble expression. This was enough to prove his treachery. All of this was to prove to Yi Chun that Royal Uncle Lu did not believe that Yi Chun would kill him. Of course, this was only one of his goals. His posture was extremely low. His face was filled with respect. There was no trace of panic or anger. There was only respect, humility, and worship. He was telling Yi Chun that he was just a nobody. Moreover, he was a nobody who worshipped Yi Chun. He wasn't worth Yi Chun killing. Yi Chun also shouldn't kill someone who worshipped Yi Chun. He was trying to dispel the killing intent in Yi Chun's heart. Simply put, Royal Uncle Lu had instantly confirmed the authenticity of that player's warning. Then, he came up with a countermeasure. He was also doing this to show everyone that his Royal Uncle Lu wasn't an evil person. He shouldn't be killed. If the agile cavalry great general Yi Chun still wanted to kill Emperor Lu, he would definitely be tarnished by indiscriminate killing, which would greatly affect his reputation. Of course, Royal Uncle Lu still had some thoughts in his heart. That was Good Chun Wen. His two sworn brothers were both first-rate historical generals. There was no overlord who didn't want such subordinates. And Yi Chun was clearly the overlord in Royal Uncle Lu's eyes. As long as Yi Chun wanted Good Chun Wen, then he would have to consider letting Royal Uncle Lu go. Otherwise, why would Good Chun Wen choose to follow Yi Chun? This was what Royal Uncle Lu was thinking. Unfortunately, all of this was seen through by Yi Chun. No matter what Royal Uncle Lu did, he couldn't dispel Yi Chun's desire to kill him. Lord Governor, seeing that Yi Chun didn't answer, Royal Uncle Lu couldn't help but cautiously look at Yi Chun and bow once more. When Yi Chun heard this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He glanced at Good Chun Wen, then at Royal Uncle Lu, and asked, "I heard that you claim to be the descendant of King Jing of Zhongshan?" When Royal Uncle Lu saw that Yi Chun was paying attention to Good Chun Wen, he was immediately overjoyed. When he heard Yi Chun's words, he was even more ecstatic. He hastily bowed and said, "Reporting to Agile Cavalry General, I am indeed the descendant of King Jing of Zhongshan." Chapter 346. Royal Uncle Lu spoke very sincerely and humbly. He was once again expressing goodwill to Yi Chun. He was the descendant of King Jing of Zhongshan. Despite his noble status, his words were still so humble. If Yi Chun still wanted to kill Royal Uncle Lu, then Yi Chun would definitely be reviled by the world. Killing a member of the imperial family for no reason was tantamount to rebellion. Liang Chun and Wen straightened their backs when they heard Royal Uncle Lu's words. This was because the two of them were about to become sworn brothers with Royal Uncle Lu. From their point of view, being able to become sworn brothers with a member of the great Han imperial family was a huge advantage for them. Although they didn't know why Yi Chun wanted to kill Royal Uncle Lu, this didn't stop them from feeling proud. When Yichen heard this, he glanced at Royal Uncle Lu and nodded with a smile. Then he said, "So that's how it is." When Royal Uncle Lu heard this, his eyes lit up and he hurriedly bowed. "Lord Prefecture Overseer, I am about to become sworn brothers with the two of you. I hope that Lord Prefecture Overseer can bear witness." "Sure." Yichen smiled faintly and said without hesitation, "Many thanks, Lord Prefecture Overseer." Royal Uncle Lu was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed. Royal Uncle Lu was so excited because Yichen didn't question his status. This way, his status as a member of the imperial family would be even more secure because Yichen didn't question it. If news of this spread, Yichen would definitely become Royal Uncle Lu's witness. Of course, Royal Uncle Lu preferred the witness of a member of the imperial family, such as Lu Yin. Royal Uncle Lu had originally planned to rely on Lu Yin instead of Yichen. This was because Lu Yin's status was clearly greater than Yichen's, because Lu Yin was a member of the Great Han imperial family. The other reason why Imperial Uncle Lu was so excited was that Yichen was going to be the witness for him and Liangshen and Wenwen becoming sworn brothers. This way, the danger that Royal Uncle Lu faced would be greatly reduced. This was because more than half of the players present were hostile towards him. With Yichen, the great general of swift cavalry, there was no danger to his uncle. Even if there was danger, it would be greatly reduced. How could Yichen not see through Lu Huangshu's wishful thinking? Yichen glanced at Royal Uncle Lu, then nodded smilingly. Yichen's attitude was very clear. He wanted to help Emperor Lu. When Royal Uncle Lu saw this, he bowed again and said, "Thank you, Lord Prefecture Overseer." Royal Uncle Lu's words were filled with gratitude. However, Yichen, who had extremely sharp senses, could hear the hidden pride in Royal Uncle Lu's words. Yichen glanced at Royal Uncle Lu with a hint of mockery in his eyes. However, in his excitement, Royal Uncle Lu did not notice the flash of mockery in Yichen's eyes. Otherwise, Royal Uncle Lu would definitely change his strategy. In fact, Yichen's words were just an act. Royal Uncle Lu knew how to act, but Yichen knew how to do the same. Yichen's goal was simple. He wanted to stall for time and wait until they were officially sworn brothers before settling the score. Because that way, Yichen would receive the highest reward. If he acted now, Yichen's reward would definitely be reduced. This was not something that Yichen wanted to see. "Thank you, Lord Prefecture Overseer." Yin Liang and Wenwen breathed a sigh of relief and bowed together. From their point of view, Yichen's behavior did not look like he wanted to kill Royal Uncle Lu. It was most likely that the previous player was deliberately causing trouble. At this moment, the players who had arrived at Peach Garden exploded. F*CK. Yichen wants to help Royal Uncle Lu? What the F*CK is going on? F*CK. How would I know? F*CK. If Yichen helps Royal Uncle Lu, how will Royal Uncle Lu die? F*CK. Is there something wrong with Yichen? He didn't kill Royal Uncle Lu and insisted on helping him. Does Yichen want to find himself an opponent so that he won't be lonely? This is bad. If I had known, I would have chosen to help Royal Uncle Lu from the start. F*CK. When I have to fight with Yichen again. Luckily I chose to help Royal Uncle Lu from the start. While the players were discussing intensely, a world announcement suddenly rang out. Ding! There are still 10 minutes until the Oath of the Peach Garden. Once the time is up, players outside of Peach Garden will not be able to enter until the end of the quest. The 3 consecutive world announcements caused an uproar among the players in Jue County. In the next second, the players outside of Peach Garden who were unable to enter took out their weapons without hesitation and stabbed at the thin barrier. Poochie, poochie. The sound of weapons piercing flesh rang out. Very quickly, a group of players in Peach Garden died and turned into white light to revive. The overcrowded Peach Garden immediately emptied out some space. The attacking players saw this and immediately rushed in. However, in less than 2 seconds, they were also killed by the players who wanted to enter. When a new batch of players entered Peach Garden, they didn't act like the previous batch of players. They didn't hesitate to attack the players further in. Very quickly, the players started killing each other and affected the players in the deeper parts of Peach Garden. Angry roars, curses, and battle cries were heard everywhere. However, no matter how the players fought, no one dared to approach Yi-chun. Time passed slowly. When the 10 minutes were up, the barrier outside Peach Garden became as hard as steel. At this moment, the world announcement rang out again. Ding! The oath of the Peach Garden has officially begun. Royal Uncle Lu looked at Liang Chun and Wenwen and said excitedly, "Second brother, third brother, the auspicious time has arrived." When Liang Chun and Wenwen heard this, they nodded in unison. Then, they followed Royal Uncle Lu to the table that had already been set up. Then they kneeled down together. At this moment, a huge whirlpool appeared in the sky and the roar of a dragon could be heard. When Royal Uncle Lu saw this, his eyes widened. He raised 3 fingers and shouted, "Heavens! Today, I, Royal Uncle Lu, Lu Xuanda, and Brother Liang Chun and Wenwen are sworn brothers. From now on, we will share fortune and misfortune. We don't ask to be born in the same year, month, and day, but we ask to die in the same year, month, and day. The heavens and earth are our witnesses. If we go against this, we will die a horrible death." Roar! An earth-shattering dragon roar came from the sky, and a 5-clawed golden dragon flew out of the whirlpool. When Yi-chan saw the 5-clawed golden dragon, his eyes widened. He took a step forward and shouted, "Wait!" Liang Chun and Wenwen, who were about to shout their oaths, were stunned. Royal Uncle Lu's expression changed. He had never imagined that Yi-chun, who had been talking nicely just a moment ago, would actually stop him when he was about to become sworn brothers. The gamers in Peach Garden drew their weapons in unison. Help Royal Uncle Lu and stop Royal Uncle Lu. The players from the 2 factions were at loggerheads and could explode at any time. Yi-chun ignored the players and looked at Royal Uncle Lu. He shouted, "Royal Uncle Lu, I suddenly thought of something. You claim to be the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan. Do you have proof?" When Royal Uncle Lu heard this, his expression changed again. He looked at Yi-chun and said, "The cavalry general is the cavalry general of Zhongshan. Of course, I am the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan. This is absolutely true. How could I claim to be an ancestor?" When Liang Chun and Wenwen heard this, they were stunned. They didn't expect Royal Uncle Lu to give such a reply. Ridiculous! How dare you claim to be the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan without proof? Royal Uncle Lu, how dare you? Yi-chun sneered and shouted. Chapter 347. Naturally, Royal Uncle Lu didn't have any proof. If Yi-chun didn't know this, he wouldn't have asked Royal Uncle Lu. In the end, Royal Uncle Lu was just a straw sandal seller. He was thick-skinned, black-hearted, and bold. It was true that Prince Jing of Zhongshan was a member of the great Han royal family. He was good at giving birth and had countless descendants. However, no matter which descendant it was impossible that he didn't have any proof. When the players in the Peach Garden saw this, they were stunned. Then, there was an uproar. Mn. So Yi-chun wanted to kill Royal Uncle Lu? Not help him. That gave me a fright. That's good, that's good. Mn. I was just thinking that if I stood against Yi-chun, I would be killed by Yi-chun. Now, I don't have to worry. Mn. Yi-chun, Royal Uncle Lu is a good person. You should be on his side. When Royal Uncle Lu heard the players' discussion, his face changed again. At this moment, Royal Uncle Lu realized that Liang Chun and Wenwen were stunned. He was shocked. He quickly looked at Yi-chun and shouted, "Your Excellency, I'll explain to you in detail after we're sworn brothers." At this moment, Royal Uncle Lu was no longer as calm as before. There was obvious panic in his words. Because Liang Chun and Wenwen were stunned, it meant that they were suspicious of Royal Uncle Lu. Presumptuous. You don't have any proof, yet you insist that you're the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan. Royal Uncle Lu, how dare you? When Yi-chun said this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, a violent killing intent erupted from his body without any concealment. Royal Uncle Lu, who felt Yi Chen's murderous intent, paled even more. At this moment, Royal Uncle Lu was sure of one thing. Yi Chen was fooling him. Originally, he thought that he had fooled Yi Chen. He was even proud of himself for a while. But now, it seemed that Yi Chen had fooled him. Yi Chen really wanted to kill him and didn't intend to let him go. Trying hard to stabilize his violently beating heart, Royal Uncle Lu raised 3 fingers without hesitation and shouted, "Lord Prefecture Overseer, you must have misunderstood. She really is the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan. By the heavens above, if she is spouting nonsense, she will die a horrible death." Royal Uncle Lu's words were full of grievances, and his words were sincere, without any falsehood. After saying that, Royal Uncle Lu even started to cry. Her cries were heart-wrenching, extremely aggrieved, desperate, and helpless. When Liangshan and Wenwen saw this, their expressions immediately changed. Then, they moved together and stood in front of Emperor Lu. At first, they were a little puzzled as to why Royal Uncle Lu did not produce any evidence. Now that he saw Royal Uncle Lu being forced into tears by Yi Chen and even swearing an oath, the doubts in his heart immediately dissipated. In their eyes, Yi Chen was taking advantage of his power to bully others. Otherwise, how could he have forced Royal Uncle Lu to cry? There was no evidence that Royal Uncle Lu was the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan, who would carry something that could prove their identity with them. Moreover, Royal Uncle Lu had said that he would explain it to Yi Chen in detail after becoming sworn brothers. However, Yi Chen still did not let Royal Uncle Lu go. He insisted that Royal Uncle Lu take out the evidence. Wasn't this forcing him to do something? Of course, in their opinion, Royal Uncle Lu was not lying at all. Otherwise, he would not have sworn such a vicious oath. At this time, Liangshan looked at Yi Chen angrily and then shouted in a deep voice, "General of Agile Cavalry, Liangshan admires you as a great hero who has made great contributions to the Great Han Dynasty. But why do you frame my brother? Does General of Agile Cavalry not even take the Great Han Dynasty's royal family seriously now? General of Agile Cavalry, Wenwen also admires you. But if you want to slander my brother, Wenwen will never allow it." Wenwen shouted immediately. After the two finished speaking, they did not hesitate to release their momentum, and their faces showed incomparably firm expressions. They wanted to protect Royal Uncle Lu and not let Royal Uncle Lu be hurt by Yi Chen. Hearing this, Royal Uncle Lu cried even more happily. Then he shouted with tears streaming down his face, "Oh, my 2 brothers, you are not afraid of death. My 2 brothers, quickly apologize to the prefecture overseer. I can't drag my 2 brothers down." "Brother." When Liangshan and Wenwen heard this, they were both moved. They turned to look at Royal Uncle Lu and shouted, "Woo!" Royal Uncle Lu burst into tears. With a few words, Royal Uncle Lu dispelled the doubts in Liangshan and Wenwen's hearts. Liangshan and Wenwen could not see it, but how could Yi Chen not see it? Unfortunately, Liangshan and Wenwen were firmly controlled by Royal Uncle Lu. They were determined to stand on his side. Even if Royal Uncle Lu could not produce evidence, they chose to believe him and follow him. Originally, Yi Chen wanted to try and see if he could accept Liangshan and Wenwen. In the end, it seemed that these two were hopelessly stupid. How could Yi Chen have the patience to continue talking? After all, he had achieved his previous goal. He had delayed until the swearing ceremony and eliminated Royal Uncle Lu's scheme. After all, Royal Uncle Lu was a descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan. If Yi Chen did not give an explanation and killed Royal Uncle Lu, it would affect Yi Chen and even bring him a lot of trouble. Especially He Jin. He would definitely take the opportunity to make trouble for Yi Chen. There was no doubt about this. Now, Yi Chen had seized on the fact that Royal Uncle Lu had no evidence. It would make sense if he killed Royal Uncle Lu. A scoundrel who pretended to be a member of the royal family. What was the point of keeping him alive? Yi Chen glanced at Royal Uncle Lu and the other 2 brothers, who were close to each other, and sneered. "Royal Uncle Lu, good trick, good scheme. Unfortunately, no matter how eloquent you are, you can forget about reversing the situation. If you can't produce evidence today, you will undoubtedly die. After Yi Chun finished speaking, he raised the God-slayer in his right hand, and a tyrannical killing intent instantly rose. If Your Excellency the Prefecture Overseer wishes to kill me, I will definitely not resist. I ask that Your Excellency the Prefecture Overseer spare my two worthy brothers. I offer my thanks. When Royal Uncle Lu heard this, he suddenly shivered and hastily bowed. Yin Liang and Wan were moved by Royal Uncle Lu's words. They shouted in unison, "Big brother!" At death's door, they still wanted to struggle and drag Liangshun and Wan down with them. Did they really think they could run away? What's the point of keeping people who don't want to follow me? Thinking of this, Yi Chun coldly smiled and then shouted, "What? Royal Uncle Lu, you brat! How dare you pretend to be a member of the royal family? Everyone has the right to punish you. Kill!" After saying this, Yi Chun stomped his right foot on the ground. Bang! There was a loud sound, and the ground instantly cracked. At this moment, Yi Chun also leaped out and pounced on Royal Uncle Lu. Go! Go! Yi Chun is making his move. Kill! Kill Royal Uncle Lu, and there will be great benefits. Hurry up and protect Royal Uncle Lu. Don't let them kill Royal Uncle Lu. Royal Uncle Lu, you idiot. Hurry up and become sworn brothers. Are you King scared out of your wits by Yi Chun? The players roared one after another. Then there was the sound of weapons colliding. The players who stopped Royal Uncle Lu and helped Royal Uncle Lu started fighting. Catch the weapons. Suddenly, there was a loud shout. A player suddenly jumped up and summoned two long spears in midair. He then threw them at Yin Liang and Wan. At the same time, 12 people suddenly jumped up from the crowd of players. They stepped on the heads and rushed toward Yi Chun. One of them even drew his bow and shot an arrow at Yi Chun. Chapter 348. Boom! A violent explosion instantly sounded in the air. The arrow was extremely fast, and a golden light flashed. A tyrannical and destructive aura instantly erupted the moment the arrow left the bowstring, and then it went straight for Yi Chun. Yi Chun, who originally intended to ignore it, suddenly opened his eyes. It was at least an immortal weapon. The rapidly approaching arrow gave Yi Chun a sense of crisis, and it was because of this feeling that Yi Chun made such a judgment. Mortal weapons could no longer harm Yi Chun. Only immortal weapons and above could bring danger to Yi Chun. Thinking of this, Yi Chun did not hesitate to summon the treasure fall coin and flung it at the rapidly approaching arrow. Ding! A sound was heard. The treasure fall coin instantly collided with the arrow. The originally glittering golden arrow with a destructive aura instantly stopped in the air, and then it returned to its ancient appearance and fell to the ground. Yi Chun's mind moved, and the treasure fall coin immediately flew back to Yi Chun with the arrow. At this moment, Yin Liang Wan caught the long spear thrown by the players and attacked Yi Chun together. Yi Chun glanced at Yin Liang Wan and narrowed his eyes. His left hand grabbed the treasure fall coin that flew back with the arrow, and his right hand mercilessly swung the Godslayer. Simple, violent, and without any fancy moves. It was such a simple shot, but it instantly caused Yin Liang Wan's expression to change drastically, because at this moment, the two of them felt the arrival of death. As first-rate historical generals, they knew very well why this feeling appeared. Only when they encountered absolute danger, or even when they were in danger of losing their lives, would they feel it. The two of them gave up attacking at the same time and jumped to dodge. However, at this moment, the two of them were terrified to find that their bodies, which should have immediately left the place, were no longer listening to their commands. Woo! A black light flashed and disappeared. Poochie, poochie. Two sounds were heard. Yin Liang Wan's head instantly flew up. BZZT, BZZD. Fresh blood instantly gushed out from the two men's severed necks. Their heads kept rolling in the air, and their vision became more and more blurry. It was only at this moment that the two of them realized that the great Han Empire's general of agile cavalry, Yi Chun, was not only a godly commander, his strength was also tyrannical to the point of defying the natural order. The two of them thought that even if they couldn't kill Yi Chun, they could at least block Yi Chun. However, the result was far beyond their expectations. Bang! Bang! Two sounds were heard. Liang Chun and Wan Wen's bodies instantly exploded. Minced flesh, internal organs, and intestines mixed with blood splattered everywhere. This was especially true for Royal Uncle Lu, who was the closest to Yin Liang and Wen Wen. At this very moment, Royal Uncle Lu's entire body was dyed red by the blood of Yin Liang and Wen Wen. There were also many pieces of intestines, internal organs, and flesh that emitted a foul stench hanging from his body. Royal Uncle Lu's eyes instantly widened, and he screamed, "Lord Prefecture Overseer, please spare my life." When Royal Uncle Lu saw Yin Liang Wen Wen get insta-killed by Yi Chun, how could he remain calm? Originally, Royal Uncle Lu had planned to rely on Yin Liang and Wen Wen to dominate the world and create a beautiful future. This was because Liang Chun and Wen Wen were very strong. However, the cruel reality told him one thing. Yin Liang and Wen Wen, who he thought were very strong, were just two ants in front of Yi Chun. And Royal Uncle Lu was also an ant. He didn't want to die. If he didn't beg for mercy, he would die in the next second. Therefore, he gave in. Liang Chun and Wen Wen's heads, which were still rolling in the air, heard Royal Uncle Lu scream. In an instant, their eyes, which were about to turn into ashes, suddenly opened. Then, they revealed a look of extreme regret and despair. It was only at this moment that the two of them suddenly came to their senses. However, it was all too late. In the next second, the two people's heads, which were tumbling in the air, exploded with a bang. Red and white splattered everywhere. Bang! Yi Chun's right foot stomped on the ground again, and then he accelerated toward Royal Uncle Lu. At this moment, an incomparably furious roar was heard. "Yi Chun, give me back my Sky Shaker arrow." When Yi Chun heard this, his eyes narrowed. Then, he looked at the arrow in his left hand that was brought back by the Treasurefall coin. The moment he saw the arrow, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly opened wide. It really is the Sky Shaker arrow. No wonder I felt danger. Could it be Li Hongfei, who had obtained the title of Arrow God in his previous life? If it was him, then the Cosmos Bow had also appeared. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the player who had thrown the weapons to Yin Liang and one had already rushed to Royal Uncle Lu's side. He directly slashed at Royal Uncle Lu's neck. "How dare you!" When Yi Chun saw this, his eyes suddenly opened wide, and then he shouted loudly. At the same time, the Godslayer in his right hand pierced out like lightning. Woo! The sound of an explosion was instantly heard. The dark and thick Godslayer flashed and arrived in front of the player in an instant. With a poochie sound, the Godslayer effortlessly pierced through the player's head. The longsword in his hand was still half a finger away from Royal Uncle Lu. However, this half a finger's distance was as far as the sky, and it could not advance any further. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The player's body instantly exploded into pieces. He died without a complete corpse. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed black and then returned to normal. When he saw this, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. "You want to steal my benefits? You must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts." Just as Yi Chun thought, the player who had thrown the weapons to Yin Liang and Wen Wen was not trying to protect Royal Uncle Lu. He wanted to kill Royal Uncle Lu. He gave the weapons to Yin Liang and Wen Wen won because he wanted Yin Liang and Wen Wen to delay Yi Chun from getting close to Royal Uncle Lu. He took the opportunity to get close to Royal Uncle Lu so that he could kill Royal Uncle Lu in one fell swoop and snatch the biggest reward. However, no matter how he planned, he did not expect that Yin Liang and Wen Wen would not be able to stop Yi Chun at all. Both of them were killed instantly. At this time, he had already reached Royal Uncle Lu's side. He did not want to miss this opportunity, even if it meant becoming Yi Chun's enemy. Therefore, he became ruthless and directly slashed at Royal Uncle Lu. Unfortunately, he did not succeed in the end. Not only was he stabbed to death by Yi Chun, But the Godslayer also completely devoured his soul. He could not be resurrected. He was completely dead. Plop! A loud sound was heard. Royal Uncle Lu knelt on the ground without hesitation and kowtowed with a face full of horror. Your Excellency, spare me. Spare me. I really didn't mean to pretend. Someone told me that I was the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan. Your Excellency, please understand. This really has nothing to do with me. At this moment, Royal Uncle Lu was completely clear-headed. No schemes, no tricks, no words would work on Yichun. If Yichun wanted to kill him, even if he came up with thousands of methods, he could not stop Yichun. There was only one thing that could stop Yichun, and that was Yichun's strength or subordinates with the same strength as Yichun. However, Royal Uncle Lu did not have either of these. Therefore, he knelt on the ground and begged for mercy without hesitation. Looking at Royal Uncle Lu kowtowing like he was pounding garlic, Yichun curled his lips in disdain. He withdrew the Godslayer in his right hand and smashed it at Royal Uncle Lu's head. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Royal Uncle Lu's head exploded in an instant. Red and white splattered everywhere. Chapter 349. Yichun glanced at the dead Royal Uncle Lu and curled his lips in disdain. Then, he turned around and looked at the 12 players who were charging towards him. Swoosh, 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 the 12 players stopped in their tracks. None of them dared to move forward. They looked at Yichun from afar. They had originally discussed and planned to attack together to stop Yichun. Then, they would kill Royal Uncle Lu and snatch the reward for this mission. But in the end, the 13th person not only failed, but was also killed by Yichun. Their entire plan fell through instantly. At this moment, their eyes were filled with unwillingness and fear towards Yichun's strength. No matter how weak Yan Liang Wenwen was, he was still a first-rate historical general. Moreover, he was an overlord-level general. Moreover, he was one of the best amongst overlord-level generals. But in the end, he was killed by Yichun on the spot. This was seriously beyond their expectations. Yichun had killed a first-rate historical general before, but they had never seen it happen. They thought that Yichun had spent some effort to kill him. But now, it seemed that it was not what they thought. Yichun had killed a first-rate historical general, and an overlord-level general, Yan Liang Wenwen at that. It was as easy as crushing an ant. How could they not be afraid? Ding! Congratulations to player Yichun for killing a first-rate historical general, Liang Chun. Due to his special status, the reward is innate attribute points x10. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichun for killing a first-rate historical general, Wenwen. Due to his special status, the reward is innate attribute points x10. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichun for killing a special character, Royal Uncle Lu. Due to his special status, the reward is innate attribute points x100. 3 system notifications rang out. When Yichun heard this, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Damn it, it's all mine. There's no use in snatching it. Just as Yichun finished thinking, a deafening roar suddenly rang out. Roar! In the next second, the 5-clawed golden dragon, circling in the sky, suddenly flew down and pounced towards Yichun. Seeing this, Yichun's eyes lit up. After killing Royal Uncle Lu, the golden dragon of destiny that appeared because of Royal Uncle Lu will belong to me from now on. As the Great Han Dynasty's fate declined, it would split into many fates that would be attached to the future vassals. The strongest among them were none other than Emperor Lu, Cao Cao, and Sun Quan. From the golden dragon of luck that appeared in the sky after Emperor Lu became sworn brothers, it was not hard to tell that he was the favored child of heaven and earth. However, at this moment, Uncle Lu had been killed by Yichun. Naturally, the luck that belonged to Uncle Lu had been snatched away by Yichun. Yichun could not help but grin when he sensed the changes in his body caused by the golden dragon of destiny entering his body. With the blessing of providence, the speed at which he absorbed the spiritual energy of the world had increased by more than twofold. Moreover, his mind was clear, and his mind was much faster than before. Not bad, not bad. The more providence he had, the better. At this moment, a unique aura suddenly rose from Yi Chen's body. That aura was very domineering and also very strong. It quickly became dominant and became stronger and stronger. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the Emperor title. Emperor. Special title. Characteristics. 1. Greatly increases the attractiveness of historical figures. 2. Extremely high chance of subduing captives. 3. Territory stability plus 100. Territory residence approval plus 100. Prosperity plus 100. 4. Territory army morale plus 100. After hearing the system's notification, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. The Emperor title. No one had obtained this title in his previous life. He did not expect it to have so many characteristics. Greatly increasing the attractiveness of historical missions meant that it would be easier for Yi Chen to subdue historical figures. Extremely high chance of subduing captives meant that if Yi Chen wanted to recruit people as his subordinates, he could capture them and persuade them to surrender. As for the third characteristic, it would make the residents of Yi Chen's territory completely approve of Yi Chen. When Yi Chen's territory expanded to a certain extent, even if Yi Chen directly ascended to the throne, no one would be against it. As for the fourth characteristic, it was even more terrifying. Yi Chen's army was originally very strong. Every one of them was the best of the best. Now that Samsara City's army had a plus 100 morale, even if Yi Chen did not lead them, they would still be very strong and full of fighting spirit. Not bad. Not bad. This title is not bad. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but smile. At this moment, a world announcement rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for stopping the Oath of the Three in the Peach Garden and killing Royal Uncle Liu, Liang Chen, and Wen. Completion rate, 100%. Special rewards. Innate attribute points x100. Recruitment order, heaven level. x10. Purple coins x1. 000. Blacksmith shop, true, god level. x1. Potion shop, true, god level. x1. 2 world stone x100. 000. Lottery x1. The world announcement rang out 3 times in a row, instantly causing the world channel to explode. Holy shit, are you kidding me? How could they all be killed by Yi Chen? Aren't there so many people in the Peach Garden? Damn you, a bunch of trash. How could you let Yi Chen complete the quest of stopping the Oath of the Three in the Peach Garden with 100% completion rate? Are you all eating shit? Boss Yi Chen is just too awesome. So many people still can't beat Boss Yi Chen. I'll ask you all if you're convinced. Damn it, Yi Chen has obtained too many things. 108 attribute points. Damn it, is Yi Chen going to become a god? When the innate attribute points increase, the attribute points increase as well. Yi Chen is already a saint-level general. If he increases it, what kind of existence will he be? Can anyone stop him? Innate attribute points have such benefits? Damn it, why didn't I know about it? Damn it, I just found out about it too. Those king-level generals were all on the world announcement. Otherwise, I would still be in the dark. Damn it, Yi Chen has already obtained a lot of innate attribute points. Damn it, how can he still be a saint-level general? His martial strength is only 100. Who the hell knows? I only know one thing now. Yi Chen's strength is 100% above that of a saint-level general. I don't know what he used his innate attribute points for. Mother Asterisk Kerr, it's not just the innate attribute points. Didn't you see the recruitment order? It's even a heaven rank one. Any one of them can get 100,000 soldiers. Mother Asterisk Kerr, who could stop Yi Chen? What the hell is that godly blacksmith shop and godly potion shop? They can still be used in the real world. I want to know what the 2 world stone is. Look at its name. It seems to be 2 different worlds. Damn it. The only person who knows this is probably Yi Chen. Damn it. He knows so many secrets but refuses to say them. He's a scumbag. TCH, a bunch of envious fools. Boss Yi Chen is awesome enough to obtain these. What's wrong? You're not convinced? If you're not convinced, go and get them yourselves. After you get them, you'll be just as awesome. The world channel was in an uproar. Yi Chen glanced at it and then curled his lips in disdain. No matter how envious jealous, or hateful the players were. It had nothing to do with Yi Chun. Everything Yi Chun had obtained was earned by Yi Chun's own efforts. Yi Chun had a clear conscience. Thinking of this, Yi Chun looked at the 12 players who were already showing signs of retreating. Yi Chun only knew one of the 12 of them. Yi Chun did not know the other 11. However, this was not important. What was important was that the person Yi Chun knew was Li Hongfei, who Yi Chun was thinking about. In his previous life, Li Hongfei had also watched Pangu split the sky and receive the title of Archer God. Yi Chun's gaze locked onto Li Hongfei because he was holding the acquired spiritual treasure, the Cosmos Bow. Chapter 350. The Cosmic Bow was an acquired spirit treasure, but its attack power was not much weaker than an ordinary connate spirit treasure. Since Yi Chun had seen it, he naturally would not let it go so easily. Not to mention, Yi Chun had just been attacked. At this moment, Li Hongfei's expression suddenly changed, because he saw Yi Chun's gaze. To be precise, he had locked onto him. He could feel that Yi Chun had locked onto him. He would rather be locked onto by Abu than be locked onto by Yi Chun, because if he was locked onto by Abu, he would have a chance to kill Abu. However, if he was locked onto by Yi Chun, the danger would be great. The Cosmic Bow and the Heaven-Shaking Arrow had not been able to hurt Yi Chun. Yi Chun had even snatched the Heaven-Shaking Arrow away. How could he still have the courage to face Yi Chun? At this moment, there was only one word in Li Hongfei's heart: regret. The arrow just now had been decided when he and the other 12 people were planning. In the eyes of the other 12 people, they were going to use the bow and arrow to stop Yi Chun. As for shooting Yi Chun to death, they had thought about it. However, they knew that Yi Chun would not be shot to death so easily. However, what they did not know was that the bow and arrow Li Hongfei used was not the gold-level bow and arrow they had discussed during their discussion. Li Hongfei used the Cosmic Bow and the Heaven-Shaking Arrow. These two items were a set of acquired spirit treasures. They were extremely powerful. Unfortunately, he could only pull them apart by 1%. However, even this 1% was enough for him to use. He had killed an Emperor-level general with one arrow from 10,000 meters away. Moreover, the Emperor-level general that he had killed had his body blown into pieces. Not even his bones were left. One could imagine how powerful the Cosmic Bow and the Heaven-Shaking Arrow were. Of course, this was Li Hongfei's secret. The other 12 people did not know this at all. Originally, Li Hongfei wanted to use the Cosmic Bow and the Heaven-Shaking Arrow to kill Yi Chun with one arrow and then kill Royal Uncle Lu with the second arrow. If there was still a chance, he would kill Liang Chun and Wenwen. This way, he would be able to obtain the greatest benefits. In his opinion, Yi Chun would most likely be shot to death by him. This was because the Qinquan Bow and the Heaven-Shaking Arrow were not items of the mortal world. They were post-celestial spiritual treasures. No matter how powerful Yi Chun was, it was impossible for him to block the Heaven-Shaking Arrow shot out by the Qinquan Bow. However, the result was beyond his expectations. Not only did the Heaven-Shaking Arrow not hurt Yi Chun in the slightest, the Heaven-Shaking Arrow, which could have been automatically retracted, was completely disconnected from him after being hit by the copper coin. But now that Yi Chun had locked onto him, how could he not be afraid? He was afraid of death. He was afraid that Yi Chun would kill him. He was also afraid that Yi Chun would snatch away his Qinquan Bow. "Let's retreat," one of the remaining 12 suddenly shouted. His face was pale, and his voice was trembling. They had planned to scheme against Yi Chun and steal the quest reward. However, in the end, not only did they fail to steal the quest reward, but Yi Chun had also completed the quest to stop the Oath of the Peach Garden. Yi Chun had not only killed Liang Chun and Wenwen, but he had also killed Royal Uncle Lu. Now that Yi Chun had noticed them, this was not good news for him. Especially when he saw the Godslayer in Yi Chun's right hand, he was even more flustered. He did not know what grade that gun was, but it could kill people in the real world. He did not want to experience the feeling of being stabbed by the Godslayer, because if that happened, it was very likely that he would say goodbye to this world. "Let's go!" With a shout, the 12 of them leaped towards the players who had stopped fighting and were staring blankly at Yi Chun. They wanted to use the players to avoid Yi Chen's pursuit. At this moment, Li Hongfei also leaped towards the crowd and rushed out of the peach garden. Yi Chen looked at the fleeing players and sneered. He stomped his right foot on the ground. Bang! A loud sound rang out. In the next second, Yi Chen leaped up and rushed towards Li Hongfei. To Yi Chen did not care whether Li Hongfei was dead or alive, but Yi Chen was determined to obtain the heaven and earth bow and heaven-shaking arrow. Otherwise, the generals of Samsara City would be killed by Li Hongfei. This was not something that Yi Chen wanted to see. Li Hongfei ran very quickly, but no matter how fast he was, he could not outrun Yi Chen. After a few leaps, Yi Chen caught up to Li Hongfei. Li Hongfei, who was running, suddenly paled. Originally, he had prayed that Yi Chen would chase someone else and not him. For this reason, he purposely stayed away from the 11 people. He held the heaven and earth bow in his hand at all times, ready to attack Yi Chen if something went wrong and buy time for him to escape. This was because he knew that Godslayer was not to be trifled with. He did not want to experience the feeling of being pierced by Godslayer. If he died in real life, then there would be nothing left. This was not something that he wanted to see. Who would have thought that Yi Chen did not chase after the 11 people and chose to chase after him? He even caught up to him in a few breaths. Not good. Li Hongfei suddenly remembered that his connection with Heaven's shaking arrow was cut off. His eyes widened, and he quickly put away the heaven and earth bow. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he could not put it away. This was because he was still in combat and could not put away his weapon. At this moment, the treasure fall coin with wings landed on the heaven and earth bow. In the next second, there was a ding sound. Li Hongfei's face suddenly turned pale. This was because the connection between him and the heaven and earth bow was cut off. At this moment, the heaven and earth bow, which was originally as light as a feather, suddenly became as heavy as Mount Tai. In an instant, Li Hongfei tumbled down with it. With a bang, Li Hongfei landed heavily on the ground. It was at this point that Yi Chen arrived in front of Li Hongfei. With a thought, the treasure fall coin flapped its wings and flew up into the air. Yi Chen reached out with his left hand and grabbed the cosmic bow. After taking a look at the heaven and earth bow, Yi Chen could not help but smirk. The heaven and earth bow and heaven-shaking arrow belong to me now. This mission was not bad. Not only did I get all the rewards, but I also got an unexpected reward. Just as Yi Chen finished thinking, Li Hongfei's furious roar was heard. Yi Chen, give me back my heaven and earth bow. Give me back my heaven-shaking arrow. When Yi Chen heard this, he sneered and looked at Li Hongfei. Hand over the other 2 heaven-shaking arrows, and I can spare your life. They're mine. The heaven and earth bow is mine. The heaven-shaking arrow is also mine. Why should I give them to you? Give them back to me. You robber. Li Hongfei was furious when he heard this and roared. At this moment, Li Hongfei was completely immersed in the frustration and anger of losing the heaven and earth bow and heaven-shaking arrow. This was what he relied on. With this, he could do a lot of things. He could continuously shoot down Xiantian realm generals and even historical generals. He could quickly improve his strength and obtain good things. Then, he could become stronger and stronger. It was even possible for him to dominate a region. Now, the heaven and earth bow and heaven-shaking arrow that he had just obtained were taken away by Yi Chen. How could he not be angry, anxious, and resentful? This item is fated with me. It should belong to me. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and said, Chapter 351. You're shameless. Li Hongfei was first stunned when he heard this. Then he roared furiously. He never expected Yi Chen to say something like that. What did he mean by this item is fated with me? This was too shameless. What's more, he was shameless in broad daylight. Yi Chen glanced at Li Hongfei, curled his lips in disdain, and said, In terms of shamelessness, I'm far from being as shameless as you. So, it's only right for you to shoot an arrow at me. That's a mission. I can't help it. Li Hongfei stood up without hesitation and roared. Mission? The mission is for you to kill me? Yi Chen sneered and asked. Li Hongfei's expression changed, and he hurriedly shouted, Who doesn't want the mission reward? Do you think the mission reward should belong to you? This is a game. Why can't you snatch it? Yi Chen couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. He then said, You're right. This is a game. Why can't I snatch it? Li Hongfei's expression changed again when he heard this. He then roared angrily. I'm talking about the mission, not the equipment. Return the Chinquan bow and the sky-shaking arrow to me. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes when he heard this. In the beginning, Yi Chen still talked to Li Hongfei because he wanted him to take the initiative to hand over the other two sky-shaking arrows. Now, Yi Chen no longer had that patience. To Yi Chen, the Chinquan bow and the sky-shaking arrow were already in his hands. It was enough. After all, they could be retrieved automatically. This Li Hongfei was really retarded to a certain extent. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's violent killing intent rose instantly. He raised the Godslayer in his right hand and shouted coldly, I can't be bothered to waste time with you. Hand over the other two sky-shaking arrows. Otherwise, die. After the meteor fell, people became selfish, self-centered, and self-centered. When others obtained good things, they were envious and jealous. When others became strong, they were envious and jealous. If they attacked others and tried to rob others, they would claim to be righteous. If they were killed and robbed instead, they would accuse others of being bandits. This was the reality. Many people had such thoughts and even put them into action. Li Hongfei was no exception. He was the same. He could not bear to part with the Chinquan bow and the heaven-shocking arrow, because these were postnatal spiritual treasures. With these, he could quickly rise. That was why he said that Yi Chen was a bandit, despicable and shameless. However, to Yi Chen, so what if they were bandits? In this world, the strong reigned supreme. Snatching was snatching. Who cared what others thought or said? It was even more so in the untainted world. Those powerful almighties would snatch anything they saw without hesitation. Moreover, he had snatched it openly and righteously. At the end of the day, the strong were respected. If Li Hongfei was stronger, then the reward for this mission would definitely be snatched away by him. Even Yi Chen would be killed by a single arrow. Unfortunately, the truth was that Yi Chen was stronger. He was so strong that Li Hongfei could not imagine. Therefore, Li Hongfei was defeated. And after he was defeated, he raised the banner of righteousness and reasoned with Yi Chen. He even spoke eloquently and shamelessly. Li Hongfei, who was about to speak, shuddered the moment he saw the Godslayer. He swallowed the words he wanted to say. He looked at the thick black spear tip of the Godslayer in horror. His pupils constricted. At that moment, he felt the arrival of death. He knew too well how perverse Yi Chen's Godslayer was. If he killed someone in the game world, he would die in the real world. Of course, there was a chance, but he really did not want to bet on it. This was because he did not want to die. If he died, there would be nothing left. However, he was indignant. He was indignant that the hope of his rise would be snatched away by Yi Chen. Anger, hatred, panic, fear, and all kinds of complicated emotions appeared in Li Hongfei's eyes. He wanted the bow of heaven and earth back. He also did not want to die. He wanted to kill Yi Chen. Unfortunately, he could not do it. Just as Li Hongfei was hesitating and struggling in his heart, Yi Chen stabbed the Godslayer in his right hand. Puchi! A sound was heard. The Godslayer effortlessly pierced through Li Hongfei's head. Li Hongfei's eyes widened. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His eyes were filled with deep regret. He regretted not making a decision in advance. He regretted that he was killed by Yi Chen just like that. Please don't light up the spear tip. Please don't light up. Li Hongfei prayed frantically before he died. This was because if the Godslayer lit up, it meant that he would die in the real world. If that happened, he would have nothing left. This world would have nothing to do with him. At this moment, the Godslayer flashed, and Li Hongfei's soul was devoured by the Godslayer. Bang! Li Hongfei's body exploded into countless pieces. At this moment, ding-ding-dang-dang sound could be heard. At the place where Li Hongfei died, countless items suddenly appeared. Yichen looked at the items on the ground and raised his eyebrows. His luck was not bad. It dropped. Thinking of this, Yichen picked up the 2 ancient heaven-shaking arrows on the ground. As for the other items, Yichen ignored them. Looking at the bow of heaven and earth and heaven-shaking arrows in his hands, Yichen could not help but smirk. He then bit his index finger and dripped his blood onto the bow of heaven and earth and heaven-shaking arrows. Buzz! A sound was heard. The bow of heaven and earth and 3 heaven-shaking arrows instantly emitted a rainbow-colored light. They then circled around Yichen a few times. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichen for obtaining the acquired spiritual treasures, Bow of Heaven and Earth, and Heaven-Shaking Arrows. As soon as the system notification ended, Yichen laughed out loud. With a wave of his hand, the Bow of Heaven and Earth flew towards Yichen and was caught by Yichen. At this moment, the 3 heaven-shaking arrows automatically came to Yichen's side and were placed on the Bow of Heaven and Earth. I wonder how far I can pull it. Thinking of this, Yichen held the bow in his left hand and the 3 heaven-shaking arrows in his right hand. He then pulled hard. Clang! A crisp sound was heard. The bow of heaven and earth was pulled into a full moon. Seeing this, Yichen could not help but be stunned. The bow of heaven and earth did not resist me. Thinking of this, Yichen could not help but laugh out loud. This item is destined to be with me. After saying this, Yichen used his consciousness and locked onto the other 11 people who were running away. At the same time, he loosened his right hand. Boom, boom, boom. 3 loud explosions were heard in the air. The 3 heaven-shaking arrows turned into shooting stars and disappeared in a flash. In the next second, the 3 heaven-shaking arrows pierced through 3 people who were running away and changed their direction automatically. They did not slow down at all and chased after the other 8 people. Poochie, poochie, poochie. A series of sounds of arrows piercing through bodies were heard almost at the same time. The last 11 people who were blocking Yichen previously were all pierced through by the heaven-shaking arrows. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of 11 bodies exploding was heard. The 11 people who were pierced by the heaven-shaking arrows were all blown into pieces without exception. At this moment, the heaven-shaking arrows that were flying in the air flashed and automatically appeared beside Yichen. Seeing this, Yichen could not help but smile. Not bad, not bad. After thinking of this, Yichen walked out of the peach garden. Just as Yichen took 2 steps, a face that was hidden in his memory appeared in front of Yichen. Chapter 352. That face was plain and unremarkable, and there was nothing about it that attracted any attention. However, Yichen's eyes widened the moment he saw the face. It was actually him. At that moment, Yichen recognized the identity of the man who turned around to look at him. It was the all-powerful blood demon, Wang Xiaoming, who had set off a boundless sea of blood in his previous life. Originally, Yichen did not notice him because there were too many players here. However, the moment Wang Xiaoming left the peach garden, he turned around and looked at Yichen with hostility. Yichen's sharp senses instantly locked onto Wang Xiaoming. It was also at this moment that Yichen recognized Wang Xiaoming's identity. This was because Wang Xiaoming was too famous in Yichen's previous life. He killed countless people and used their blood and souls to cultivate the Blood God Sutra. Countless people chased after Wang Xiaoming, but were killed by him in the end. Even when Yichen was reborn, Wang Xiaoming was still alive. This was because the Blood God Sutra's later stages were extremely abnormal. As long as there was a blood god, one could become immortal and indestructible. Wang Xiaoming, on the other hand, had cultivated over 100 blood gods, which were hidden in different places. Even if one caught Wang Xiaoming and killed him, it would still be useless. He could still be revived. Now that Yichen saw Wang Xiaoming, he naturally could not ignore him. Yichen was not afraid, but Wang Xiaoming was too sinister. Moreover, he was very intelligent and had many tricks up his sleeve. Most importantly, Wang Xiaoming showed hostility towards Yichen. If he showed hostility, he was an enemy. There was no need to be polite to an enemy. Just kill him. Moreover, Yi Chun did not want to keep someone who could sneak attack him at any time and even scheme against him. Unfortunately, this was the game world. He did not know if he could trigger the Godslayer's soul-devouring ability. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's right foot stomped on the ground. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The ground cracked as Yi Chun leaped into the air and chased after Wang Xiaoming. Wang Xiaoming, who was just about to turn around, saw Yi Chun suddenly leap up and charge straight at him. His pupils shrank. At the same time, a feeling that Yi Chun was after him and wanted to kill him instantly appeared in his heart. Wang Xiaoming frowned as he thought of this. He didn't like this feeling, because if Yi Chun was chasing after him, it meant that Yi Chun had discovered his secret and was going to kill him. Impossible. No one knows my secret. The safe city that I'm in is not the same as Yi Chun's. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoming hurriedly steadied his violently beating heart. Then, like a passerby, he followed the crowd and slowly walked out of the peach garden. Boss, this Yi Chun is too crazy. It wasn't easy for us to kill our way in, but we didn't even get anything. A player beside Wang Xiaoming said in frustration, Sai, now I finally understand why Yi Chun is so awesome. He killed Yin Liang 1-1 with one shot. Even Abe can't do that. It's better to follow Yi Chun obediently. That way, we can still get some benefits. What I don't understand the most is what Bao Yi Chun snatched from that person. It seems like Yi Chun values it a lot. I think it's definitely a heaven-rank Bao. Otherwise, Yi Chun wouldn't have snatched it. Bullish asterisk T. It's definitely more awesome than a heaven-rank Bao. Have you seen an arrow that can bend? Boss, what's the grade of the Bao Yi Chun snatched? A lackey looked at Wang Xiaoming and asked. Wang Xiaoming didn't answer the lackey's question. Not only did he not answer, but his expression also turned uglier. This was because his sense of danger was getting closer and stronger. This was the innate ability he had obtained after cultivating the Blood God Sutra. His perception of danger far exceeded that of ordinary people. Did Yi Chun really discover my identity? Otherwise, why is it getting more and more dangerous, boss? The lackey asked in surprise when he saw Wang Xiaoming's expression change. When Wang Xiaoming heard this, a strange glint flashed across his eyes. It was obvious that Wang Xiaoming was thinking of something. Wang Xiaoming glanced at his underlings around him and sighed, then said, That Bao is at least an immortal equipment, or even a divine equipment, or even stronger. Otherwise, Yi Chun wouldn't value it so much. What? Wang Xiaoming's lackeys were stunned when they heard this. Then, they shouted in surprise. You didn't hear wrong. That Bao is definitely extraordinary. Moreover, it's extremely powerful. It can automatically lock onto the enemy and retrieve it, Wang Xiaoming said with a sigh. Holy shit, it can't be. If that's the case, then wouldn't Yi Chun be the best in the world? One of the lackeys shouted in shock. He has been the best in the world for a long time. With that Bao, Yi Chun is even more unstoppable. Sigh, comparisons are odious. Yi Chun is Yi Chun. I can't help but admire him. When Wang Xiaoming heard this, he frowned slightly. Then, he calmed down and looked at his lackeys. Wang Xiaoming said thoughtfully, If I'm not wrong, that Bao can be dropped. Otherwise, how could Yi Chun have gotten it? It can be dropped, but no one can kill Yi Chun, one of the lackeys said after being stunned for a moment. Yeah, this is Zhuo County. It's Yi Chun's territory. If anyone dares to attack Yi Chun, they can forget about leaving Zhuo County alive. I think so too. The item is good, and I want it too, but I don't dare to make a move. When Wang Xiaoming heard this, he smiled and said, No, you're wrong. There's still a chance for it to drop. There's only Yi Chun here, and there are many players. As long as we say a few words in the World Channel, someone will definitely be tempted. When the time comes, we'll just have to wait for an opportunity to snatch it. But if we do that, we'll offend Yi Chun. How can we follow Yi Chun and reap benefits? One of the lackeys frowned and asked. Don't forget, as long as we can get that Bao, we can kill the goblins and golden turbans on our own. We don't need to follow Yi Chun at all. Moreover, I'm confident that I can snatch that Bao, Wang Xiaoming said seriously with a cold glint in his eyes. Boss, are you serious? One of the lackey's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he asked in ecstasy. Of course. Wang Xiaoming smirked and said. Then he waved his right hand and a pill bottle appeared in his hand. Looking at the pill bottle in his hand, Wang Xiaoming said seriously, I found it by chance. There's no antidote. It explodes when it hits the ground and dissolves in the air. It spreads very quickly. No matter how powerful Yi Chun is, he can't block it. So, we just need to lure others to snatch the bow from Yi Chen's hands. If others succeed, we can make a move. Even if they don't, it doesn't matter. We can just throw this poison into a county. When the time comes, everyone will die. The bow and arrow will still be ours. Chapter 353. Ha ha! With this, what do we have to be afraid of, Yi Chun? Let's do it, someone said with glowing eyes. Hee hee. If we could get Yi Chen's spear to drop, that would be even better. Another person chuckled. F***CK. Keep your voices down. Aren't you afraid that others will hear you? Although we have many people here, if someone with good ears hears you and spreads the news, our plan will be ruined. Someone hurriedly scolded. The two people who were yelling before quickly shut their mouths when they heard this. Then, they could not stop chuckling. It looks like we can kill Yi Chen this time. As long as we kill him, he will suffer a huge loss. His level will drop directly to level 90. TSK. When that happens, he probably won't be as strong as us. That's for sure. Once he drops, he will drop 10 levels. His attributes will also drop by 10 levels. When that happens, we can torture him. Hurry up and send it to the World Channel while there are still so many people here. Yes, send it to the World Channel. In the Peach Garden, Yi Chun, who was rushing towards the exit, suddenly narrowed his eyes. Yi Chen had heard the conversation between Wang Xiaoming and his lackeys. Yi Chen's current strength was already extraordinary. His 5 senses were extremely sensitive. Unless Yi Chen deliberately blocked it, it would be difficult not to hear it. A highly toxic substance that could be transmitted through the air and had no antidote. What a joke. There was no such thing as an antidote in this world. Even the most powerful poison had something that could counter it. Besides, even if I don't have an antidote, it doesn't mean I don't have a way. Thinking of this, Yi Chun smiled coldly and rushed towards the exit of the Peach Garden. At this moment, the World Channel was flooded with messages. F***CK. Brothers, let me tell you something. Yi Chen obtained a divine artifact. Brothers in the Peach Garden should have seen it. Yi Chen killed someone and stole a bow and 3 arrows. That's a divine artifact. Bullsh**T. What kind of divine weapon is that? That's even more F***King awesome than a divine weapon, okay? Not only can the arrows shot out by that thing automatically attack the enemy, they can also automatically change direction. What's even more terrifying is that they can also automatically retrieve them. Damn, that's not the point, okay? The point is that Yi Chun killed that person and snatched that bow. That's even more awesome than a divine weapon. Do you know what that means? What does that mean? That thing can be dropped. Don't you understand? F***CK. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go grab it. That's right, go and snatch it. As long as we kill Yi Chun, we can snatch that bow. F***CK. If I have that bow, it won't be a problem for me to fight the demon race alone. Nonsense. That arrow can be automatically retracted to attack the enemy. It's so F***King powerful. Even a pig can fight alone with that bow. The World Channel was flooded with messages for a second before returning to silence. Yi Chun, who was in hot pursuit, glanced at the World Channel and curled his lips in disdain. A bunch of retards. It was no wonder that Yi Chun thought that way. These people were just talking to themselves. It was obvious that they were trying to drag things out. Furthermore, they were the kind of retards who were trying to drag things out. Outside Peach Garden, Wang Xiaoming looked at the World Channel with an ugly expression. He really wanted to say that these people were F***King pigs. They were hopelessly stupid. However, Wang Xiaoming still wanted to make use of this group of people, so he held himself back. F***CK, what's going on? In the past, when we were talking about Yi Chun, weren't there always so many people replying? Why is it so weird today? Could it be that people nowadays have such high standards that they don't even care about divine weapons? How is that possible? But what the F***CK is going on? Wang Xiaoming's underlings were discussing amongst themselves. At this moment, the world channel was flooded with messages. Were those retards who were talking just now? Did anyone see them? Kill those retards. I was just about to say that. These F***king dogs only know how to instigate others to attack. Why don't they take a look at where they are? This is Zhuo Prefecture, Yichen's territory. If they attack Yichun here, they won't have a good time. F***CK. When Yichun went to Peach Garden, there were retards who instigated us to attack. Luckily, Yichun didn't get angry. He only killed those who dared to attack and those who instigated us. Otherwise, we would have suffered a huge loss today. Look around you. See if those retards are around. Recognize their names. If you see them, don't hold back. Just shout and kill them. Kill those retards. The world channel was flooded with messages. Wang Xiaoming's expression darkened. As for Wang Xiaoming's underlings, they were all dumbfounded. F***CK. What the F***CK is going on? How'd they find out? Someone exclaimed. Could it be that what we said was too fake? F***CK. It's not fake. What we said was the truth. When Wang Xiaoming heard this, his expression darkened even more. This bunch of retards, thinking of this, Wang Xiaoming tried his best to calm his raging and fearful heart. He then said in a deep voice, "Stop talking. Let's get out of the city." At this moment, Wang Xiaoming only had one thing in mind. He wanted to leave Zhuo Prefecture as soon as possible. Otherwise, if they were discovered by the players, Yichun wouldn't have to do anything. They would all die. Now that the mission had ended, they would lose 10 levels if they died. At this moment, a loud bang sound was heard. Yichun landed heavily, already outside the Peach Garden. Looking at Wang Xiaoming and his underlings, Yichun squinted his eyes. He waved his right hand, and the universe bow and heaven quake arrow appeared instantly. In the next second, Yichun drew the bow and shot the heaven quake arrow without any hesitation. Clang! The heaven quake arrow left the bow and instantly turned into a shooting star. Boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions were heard in the air. Poochie, poochie, poochie. A series of sounds of arrows piercing into flesh were heard. Without exception, Wang Xiaoming's underlings were all pierced by the heaven quake arrow and stopped on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. A series of body explosions were heard. Wang Xiaoming's underlings' bodies instantly exploded into countless pieces. At this moment, the heaven quake arrow flashed and disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already beside Yichun. A series of unforeseen events happened in the span of a breath. Wang Xiaoming, who was rushing with his head lowered, suddenly stopped in his tracks. His body tensed up and tensed up again. At this moment, Wang Xiaoming confirmed one thing. The sense of danger he felt previously came from Yichun. To be precise, Yichun was really here to kill him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have only killed his underlings and not the others. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoming hurriedly raised the elixir bottle and turned to look at Yichun, who was walking slowly towards him. He shouted without hesitation, "I have a highly toxic item in my hand. If you don't want your prefecture to become a land of death, let me go." Chapter 354. Wang Xiaoming's words were filled with hostility. No matter how one looked at him, he looked like a fugitive who had been forced into a desperate situation. As long as Yichun didn't let him go, he would kill everyone in Zhuo County, even if it meant sacrificing his own life. Yichun pursed his lips in disdain as he glanced at Wang Xiaoming. Wang Xiaoming's words were vicious, and his face was filled with hostility. However, he was still afraid of death. He was afraid of being killed by Yichun. He was afraid of losing a level after death. He was even more afraid of dying completely in the real world. Of course, he couldn't bear to use the poison in his hands. With the poison, he could go to the Een Demon Tribe and the Een Golden Scarf. That way, he could level up quickly. He could even find an opportunity to kill Yichun, the demons, and the Een Golden Scarf. The truth was just as Yichun thought. Wang Xiaoming had indeed planned to do so. He wanted to secretly use the poison while Yichun was fighting the Een Golden Scarf and the demons. In that way, not only would he be able to kill a large number of demons and Golden Scarf, but he would also be able to kill Yi Chun. Unfortunately, he wasn't lucky enough to encounter such an opportunity. This was because the demons and Golden Scarf and Yuzhou had gathered on a large scale, and he hadn't encountered them even once. Even if he did encounter them, they would only be the corpses of Golden Scarf and Golden Scarf that had been killed by Yi Chun. If he used the poison then, he would only be able to kill Yi Chun and wouldn't be able to maximize his benefits. Therefore, Wang Xiaoming kept the poison and didn't use it. Now that Yi Chun had come looking for him, Wang Xiaoming wouldn't continue to keep it. He didn't want to die, nor did he want to be killed by Yi Chun. Therefore, he used the poison to threaten Yi Chun. "You don't believe me?" Wang Xiaoming shouted angrily when he saw the disdain on Yi Chun's face. Yi Chun smiled coldly and said, "If you want to use it, go ahead." Wang Xiaoming's expression changed when he heard this. Yi Chun was so calm. Either he didn't believe that the poison in his hand was highly toxic, or Yi Chun didn't care about the poison at all. The former could be described as ignorant and fearless to Yi Chun. If he wanted to make Yi Chun believe him, Wang Xiaoming could only choose to use poison. But Wang Xiaoming didn't want to use it because there was only one bottle of poison, and it had been difficult for him to obtain it. If he used it, it would be gone. It wasn't that he was afraid of being poisoned to death. He wasn't afraid of being poisoned to death because he had a way to escape. However, the price of that method was too high. It was no different from dying and dropping a level. Moreover, after using the poison here, his plan would be ruined. He still wanted to reap great benefits from this historical storyline. If he used the poison now, how could he poison the Demon Clan or the Golden Scarf? The latter was even more terrifying. If Yi Chun really had a way to decipher it, then Wang Xiaoming wouldn't have a trump card to scare Yi Chun. Even if he used the poison, it would be useless. Not only would it not kill Yi Chun, but it also wouldn't kill Yi Chun's subordinates. In the end, he would be killed by Yi Chun. Therefore, Wang Xiaoming didn't want to see either of these reasons. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoming's face suddenly turned deathly pale. The corners of Yi Chun's mouth curled up when he saw Wang Xiaoming's pale face. He said, "Wang Xiaoming, if I remember correctly, you should have a lotus seed, right?" Wang Xiaoming's expression changed drastically when he heard this. He then shouted in shock, "Who are you? How do you know my name and that I have a lotus seed?" Wang Xiaoming was very sure that he didn't know Yi Chun at all. Moreover, in the real world, he was in a different city from Yi Chun. Firstly, he wasn't an internet celebrity. Secondly, he wasn't a famous character in the game. There was no reason for Yi Chun to know him. And in the game, it was even more impossible for Yi Chun to know him. Everyone knew that Yi Chun didn't interact with any other players and didn't take in any underlings. No one would tell Yi Chun his name. But now, not only did Yi Chun directly call out his name, but he also knew that he had a lotus seed. Wang Xiaoming could barely calm down when Yi Chun called out his name. But how could Wang Xiaoming remain calm when Yi Chun mentioned the lotus seed? The lotus seed was something he obtained by accident. It was impervious to fire and water, so it couldn't be destroyed no matter what. He even tried dripping his blood on it to claim ownership. Unfortunately, it was useless. However, as someone who cultivated the Blood God Sutra, he felt that the lotus seed was somehow related to him. Therefore, he kept it carefully. This was his secret. He had never told anyone about it. But now, Yi Chun directly said it out loud. How could Wang Xiaoming not be shocked and afraid? Looking at the panicking Wang Xiaoming, Yi Chun smiled and said, "Take it out. It's fated with me." "Fate of my ass." Wang Xiaoming was enraged when he heard this. Then, he roared with a livid expression. After Yi Chun said that it was fated with him, Wang Xiaoming instantly felt a great sense of danger. It felt as if Yi Chun was going to snatch away his most precious thing. Wang Xiaoming didn't like this feeling, so he was angry. Yi Chun glanced at Wang Xiaoming and mercilessly stabbed the Godslayer in his right hand at Wang Xiaoming. Wang Xiaoming's expression changed when he saw this. How could Wang Xiaoming not know how terrifying the Godslayer was? He didn't want to be killed by the Godslayer. Previously, he was hesitant, but now, Wang Xiaoming made a decision. He threw the elixir bottle in his right hand to the ground. At the same time, Wang Xiaoming's face was covered in a thick, bloody glow. When Yichen saw this, he curled his lips in disdain. Then, he threw the Godslayer in his right hand. The moment he threw the Godslayer, Yichen grabbed the cosmic bow floating beside him with his left hand and the sky quake arrow with his right hand. Without hesitation, he shot at the elixir bottle on the ground. Clang! The 3 heaven-shaking arrows instantly left the bowstring, and then turned into shooting stars that flashed and disappeared. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The elixir bottle fell to the ground and shattered. A cloud of green smoke appeared instantly and spread rapidly. Sizzle, sizzle. The ground that came into contact with the smoke instantly emitted sounds of corrosion. At the same time, a loud bang was heard. Wang Xiaoming, whose face was covered in blood, suddenly had his left leg explode. A cloud of thick bloody mist shrouded Wang Xiaoming. With a flash of bloody light, Wang Xiaoming disappeared instantly. Poochie! A loud sound was heard. The Godslayer that was thrown out by Yi Chun instantly stabbed into the ground and drilled into the ground. At this moment, the 3 sky quake arrows rushed into the green poisonous smoke. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sound of rapid rotation was heard immediately. A small tornado suddenly appeared in the poisonous smoke, and it kept growing bigger and bigger. A strong suction force appeared in an instant. Then, it flew into the sky with the green poisonous smoke. After a breath, the green poisonous smoke was sent 10,000 meters up in the sky by the tornado. Then, it rose again and again until it reached 100,000 meters before it stopped. 100,000 meters up in the sky, there was a flash of light. 1,000 meters down in the ground, there was a flash of black light. In the next second, the sky quake arrow and the Godslayer returned to Yi Chen's side. Yi Chen glanced at the place where Wang Xiaoming disappeared and sneered. The blood escape technique is very good at escaping. Unfortunately, you haven't mastered it yet. Chapter 355. After Yi Chen finished speaking, he rushed toward the west gate of Zhuo Commandery at an extremely fast speed. Especially after Yi Chen left the crowd, his speed increased exponentially. He rushed out of the west gate in a few leaps. Then he rushed toward the northwest, because that was the direction Wang Xiaoming escaped to. Wang Xiaoming cultivated the Blood God Sutra and knew the blood escape technique. How could Yi Chen not know about this when he was reborn? When Yi Chen locked onto Wang Xiaoming, he had already spread out his divine sense and covered a radius of 90 miles. Although Wang Xiaoming ran 10 miles away, he was still within the range of Yi Chen's divine sense. Therefore, Yi Chen did not care when he saw Wang Xiaoming escape with the blood escape technique, because no matter how Wang Xiaoming escaped, he could not escape from Yi Chen's divine sense. As for why Yi Chen had to kill Wang Xiaoming, the reason was very simple. He was a blood demon who specialized in hunting humans and cultivated the Blood God Sutra. In his previous life, Wang Xiaoming set off a boundless sea of blood in order to become stronger. In the real world, as many as 30 million humans died in his hands. Whether it was for the sake of the human race or for Yi Chen himself, Wang Xiaoming could not be left alive. If he did not kill him, the human race in the real world would decrease rapidly. Moreover, it would not last more than a month. For Yi Chen, there was nothing to worry about because they were all in the newbie area. However, if Wang Xiaoming was allowed to develop, Yi Chen's Samsara city would be attacked by Wang Xiaoming sooner or later. Yi Chen was very sure about this because Wang Xiaoming's city was not far from Yi Chen's city. In his previous life, half of the people in Yi Chen's city were refined to death by Wang Xiaoming. Their blood was drained, their souls were plundered, and they could never be reincarnated. At that time, if the demon clan had not suddenly launched a large-scale attack, Yi Chen's city would have been refined to death by Wang Xiaoming, except for a very small number of people. No one would have survived. At this moment, there were no soldiers guarding Samsara city in the real world. There was no need to worry about Wang Xiaoming. If Wang Xiaoming came, he would be killed by Yi Chen. Even Yinhu, who had turned into an immortal beast, could easily kill Wang Xiaoming. However, this was now. When the human and shifter players began to ascend to the primordial wilderness, Yi Chen would definitely send troops to guard Samsara City. Because at that time, the battle between the human clan and the demon clan would not be like now, where the human clan would attack the demon clan with a spear, and the demon clan would attack the human clan with a claw. At that time, the way of fighting had changed to the bombardment of spells, the shooting of immortal weapons and divine weapons, and even the smashing of acquired spiritual treasures and innate spiritual treasures. There were all kinds of attacking methods. Compared to now, the power was even more earth-shaking. Therefore, Yi Chen would definitely send troops to guard Samsara City in the real world. As for Samsara City in the real world, once there were soldiers guarding it, Wang Xiaoming, who had long been plotting against Yi Chen, would definitely find a chance to sneak attack Samsara City in the real world after he became stronger. If Yi Chen happened to be in the real world, it would be fine. If Yi Chen was in the game world and did not come out in time, the soldiers in the real world would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Yi Chen knew the power of the Blood God Sutra very well. He had seen it with his own eyes. Ordinary soldiers were no match for Wang Xiaoming. Therefore, Yi Chen was 100% determined to kill Wang Xiaoming. He could not let him continue to develop. 5 kilometers northwest of Zhuo County. Cough, 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 cough. Wang Xiaoming clutched his heart and coughed violently. Large mouthfuls of blood were spewed out of his mouth. At this moment, Wang Xiaoming's face was pale and he was sweating profusely. However, the strange thing was that there was no blood flowing out of his missing left leg. In fact, this was the characteristic of the Blood God Sutra. It could control blood. Wang Xiaoming looked at his attribute panel. When he saw that his level had increased to 86 and his combat power had increased to 86, his pale face instantly turned red. Then, he looked in the direction of Zhuo County and roared angrily. Yi Chen, I want you dead. I will definitely kill you. I will take everything from you. I will kill all of your subordinates. None of them will be left alive. Wang Xiaoming was filled with hatred. If it were not for Yi Chen, he would not have had to run away. He would have been forced to use the blood escape technique to escape. For this, he paid the price of losing 5 levels in his left leg. However, he had to run. He did not dare to be stabbed by the God Slayer. This was because those who were stabbed to death by the God Slayer could also die in the real world. He did not dare to gamble on such a slim hope, so he used the blood escape technique. Otherwise, he would have died completely, whether in the game or in the real world. However, the price of using the blood escape technique was actually higher than death for Wang Xiaoming. This was because he had lost his left leg. In the future, when he went to fight monsters to level up, the difficulty would naturally increase by a lot. He had the Blood God Sutra, but he could not use many of its abilities now because his realm was not high enough. Unless he killed himself and revived, his left leg would grow back. However, if he did that, he would lose 10 levels again. It was because of these reasons that Wang Xiaoming hated Yi Chen so much. It was Yi Chen who turned him into a weakling again. It was Yi Chen who made him so miserable. It was Yi Chen who disrupted his overall plan. He hated Yi Chen to the core. Wang Xiaoming looked in the direction of Zhuo County hatefully. Just as he was about to turn back, his pupils suddenly shrank. Then, with a face full of disbelief and fear, he shouted, "How is this possible? How can he know where I am? And so fast?" He saw Yi Chen, whom Wang Xiaoming hated the most, suddenly jump from the top of a tree and jump straight towards him. This place was 10 miles away from Zhuo County. Wang Xiaoming had only been delayed for a short while, but Yi Chen had not only accurately located Wang Xiaoming, but had also chased him all the way here. All of this was completely beyond Wang Xiaoming's expectations. No matter how he thought about it, he could not understand how Yi Chen had discovered his position. Furthermore, that speed was so freaking fast that it was abnormal. In fact, back in Peach Garden, if Yi Chen did not want to hurt players, Wang Xiaoming would not even have been able to leave Zhuo County. This was because Yi Chen's current body was extremely freakish. His strength was so strong that it was invincible in the mortal world. If Yi Chen chased after him with all his strength, anyone who was stepped on by Yi Chen would definitely die. Wang Xiaoming looked at Yi Chun, who was still in midair, with eyes full of fear. Without thinking, he turned around and ran. To be precise, he used his remaining right leg to jump into the distance. After jumping twice, Wang Xiaoming suddenly came to his senses and hurriedly used the blood god Sutra's blood escape. In the next second, there was a flash of bloody light. Bang! There was a loud sound. Wang Xiaoming's left arm instantly exploded into a bloody mist, which then enveloped him. Bang! There was a loud sound. Yi Chen landed on the ground. At this moment, Wang Xiaoming turned into a bloody light and disappeared. Yi Chen looked towards the southeast, smiled coldly, and chased after him. 5 miles to the southeast, there was a flash of bloody light. Wang Xiaoming, who was missing an arm and a leg, suddenly appeared here. His face was as pale as a ghost, and his body was trembling nonstop. However, he did not dare to delay any longer. Without even looking, he used his remaining right leg to jump into the distance. Chapter 356. At this moment, there was only one thought in Wang Xiaoming's mind. Run, the further the better. No matter what, he could not be killed by Yi Chun, especially if he was stabbed to death by that black and thick god-killing spear. Revenge, revenge. Nothing was more important than saving his own life. However, after he jumped 5 times, he heard the sound of the ground cracking. Wang Xiaoming, who heard the strange sound, shuddered. He hurriedly stopped and turned his head to look. When he saw that it was Yi Chun who made the sound, he suddenly showed a terrified expression. This was because he did not understand. He did not understand how Yi Chun was able to determine his location. Furthermore, he did not understand why Yi Chun was so abnormally fast. Although he did not know the specific reason, he was now sure of one thing. No matter how he used blood escape, he could not escape from Yi Chun's pursuit. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoming did not feel good. This was because if he was killed by Yi Chun in the game, he would most likely die in the real world. He did not want to die for real. Even if he fell to level 0 in the game, he did not want to die in the real world. If he did not want to be killed by Yi Chun, he could only be killed by someone else or commit suicide. However, there was no one else here except for Yi Chun. Wang Xiaoming's face instantly became ferocious at the thought of committing suicide. It was not that he had not thought of committing suicide. He had the courage to do so. Even if he committed suicide, he would only lose 10 levels. He would not die in the real world. However, the problem was that this place was not far from Zhou County. He had chosen the Great Han faction during the Golden Turban Rebellion. If he committed suicide, he would definitely revive in Zhou County. That was Yi Chen's territory. To be precise, the entire Yuzhou was Yi Chen's territory. Wang Xiaoming really did not want to run to Zhou County to revive. That would be equivalent to walking into a trap and being killed by Yi Chun. If Yi Chun could not accurately find his position or catch up with him quickly, it would be fine. However, that was just a fantasy. In reality, not only did Yi Chun accurately determine his position, he also caught up with him very quickly. Damn it! Damn it! Yi Chun, you and I are irreconcilable. Wang Xiaoming roared furiously. However, his words were filled with fear. In the next second, Wang Xiaoming's face suddenly revealed a ruthless expression. He glared hatefully at Yi Chun, and then a bloody glow erupted from his face. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Wang Xiaoming's right leg instantly exploded into a bloody mist, which then enveloped him. With a flash of blood, Wang Xiaoming disappeared again. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Yi Chun landed heavily on the ground and looked towards the southeast. Even now, he still dared to use blood flight and didn't change directions. Was he scared out of his wits, or that's not right? Wang Xiaoming is a ruthless person, and his willpower far surpasses that of ordinary people. It's impossible for him to have been scared silly. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes, a cold light flashing in them. He was trying to lure me into chasing after him. He wanted me to leave Zhou County far away, so that he could commit suicide. This way, he would be able to escape Zhou County after reviving, or he would be able to go offline to buy time. How laughable. If he didn't master blood flight, even if he used up all the blood in his body, he wouldn't be able to escape from my divine sense. As for going offline, he was dreaming. Others might not be able to do it, but that didn't mean that I couldn't. In his previous life, some players would choose to go offline to avoid danger when they encounter danger. Of course, that was on the premise that they weren't in battle mode. Thinking of this, Yichen curled his lips in disdain. With a thought, the Chinquan bow and 3 sky-shaking arrows appeared instantly. Looking at the Chinquan bow floating in front of him, Yi Chun smirked. He grabbed the Chinquan bow with his left hand and placed a sky-shaking arrow on the bowstring. Yi Chun didn't hesitate to grab the sky-shaking arrow with his right hand. With a pull, the Chinquan bow instantly turned into a full moon. With a thought, his divine sense locked onto Wang Xiaoming, and he released his right hand. Clang! The sky-shaking arrow left the bowstring and instantly turned into a meteor. Bang bang! A violent explosion was heard in the air. Yichen glanced at the sky-shaking arrow that disappeared in a flash and raised his eyebrows. He then shot the other 2 sky-shaking arrows towards Zhua County. To be precise, he was shooting towards the resurrection point in Zhua County. After doing all this, Yi Chun directly rushed towards Zhua County, 10 miles to the southeast. Cough, 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 cough. Wang Xiaoming, who had lost 2 legs and 1 arm, was lying on the ground, coughing out mouthfuls of blood. Blood dyed his face, his ears, his neck, and then his clothes. It was a horrible sight to behold. His face was already very ugly. Not only was there no blood, but his face was also distorted. It was because of fear, hatred, and pain. Wang Xiaoming turned his head and looked towards the northwest. Although there were only trees there and Yi Chen's figure was nowhere to be seen, Wang Xiaoming's eyes were filled with intense hatred. Damn Yi Chen! When I escape from Yuzhou, I will definitely come back to take revenge on you. I will kill everyone related to you. Whether it's your subordinates, friends, or relatives, I will kill them all. No one will be left alive. I will also skin you and pull out your tendons. I will extract all your blood and soul. I will devour you bit by bit and make you suffer endless pain. I will make you despair. I will make you howl miserably. I will make you cry and beg me to let you go. Then I will torture you bit by bit until you are completely dead. Wang Xiaoming roared towards the northwest. Suddenly, the trees in Wang Xiaoming's line of sight were pierced by a slender white light and then exploded into sawdust. It's that Bao. Yi Chun, you are despicable. Wang Xiaoming shouted in horror and hurriedly used the blood shield technique. Bang! Wang Xiaoming's right arm exploded into a bloody mist and then enveloped Wang Xiaoming. In the next second, a bloody light flashed and Wang Xiaoming disappeared. However, the Heaven Quake arrow did not stop because of Wang Xiaoming's disappearance. Not only did it change direction, but it also continued to fly without reducing its speed and disappeared in a flash. Bang, bang, bang. A series of tree explosions were heard. The trees that were pierced by the Heaven Quake arrow were all blown into sawdust and drifted with the wind. 5 miles to the southwest, a bloody light flashed and Wang Xiaoming, who had lost his limbs, suddenly appeared on the ground. At this moment, Wang Xiaoming had already fainted. After a breath, Wang Xiaoming opened his eyes and hurriedly looked towards the northeast. At this moment, a slender white light flashed, and the trees along the way were all blown into sawdust. Wang Xiaoming's face turned green when he saw the white light. Yi Chun, you will die a horrible death. You will die a horrible death. Wang Xiaoming shouted miserably. He did not expect that he could not escape the pursuit of the Heaven Quake arrow, even after using the blood escape technique. Now, he cannot use the blood escape technique anymore, because he would die if he used it. He had planned to die a long time ago, but that was on the premise that Yi Chun would come after him. This way, Yi Chun would be able to get away from Zhua County, and he would have enough time to escape from Zhua County. He had even planned to kill himself and revive once Yi Chun was far away from Zhua County. Then, he would use the blood escape technique to escape from Zhua County and hide in a secluded place. Once he was out of combat, he would immediately log off. This way, he would be able to survive even if he had to drop dozens of levels. Wang Xiaoming had thought about logging off immediately after his revival, but he rejected the idea. If he logged off at the revival point in Zhou County, he would not be able to reap any benefits in the game. Yichen would definitely send troops to block the revival point. Since he had fallen from the innate realm, he would definitely be killed by the soldiers of Samsara City. However, the cruel reality told Wang Xiaoming one thing. His plan was ruthlessly destroyed by Yichen. Yichen did not continue to chase him and shot him with an arrow. Needless to say, Yichen must be running towards Zhou County at this moment. Thinking of Yichen's speed, Wang Xiaoming's face alternated between green and white. No, I still have a chance. I still have a chance. Wang Xiaoming suddenly thought of something and shouted loudly. Chapter 357. Wang Xiaoming roared and used the blood escape technique without hesitation. At this moment, Wang Xiaoming had lost all 4 of his limbs. If he used blood escape again, he would definitely die. But to Wang Xiaoming, he would rather commit suicide than be shot to death by Yichen. Bang! Wang Xiaoming's mutilated body instantly exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. Then, it turned into a ball of white light and disappeared without a trace. The sky tremor, arrow, also descended at this moment and stopped moving. In the next second, the sky tremor arrow changed direction and turned into a shooting star, disappearing in a flash. The sky tremor arrow was flying towards Zhou County. Zhou County, Resurrection Point. 2 sky tremor arrows floated in the air. Without exception, the arrowheads were aimed at the Resurrection Point. The players in the distance looked at the sky tremor arrows floating in the air and were all dumbfounded. What is that? How can it float in the air and not fall down? It's too amazing. Could it be some kind of magic treasure? Otherwise, how can it float there? Magic treasure my ass. Those are 2 arrows from Yichen's new bow. No one knows what they're called, but they're definitely immortal artifacts or even divine artifacts. Damn, these are the bows that those idiots were talking about on the World Channel? Damn, there's such awesome equipment in the game. Of course there is. Isn't it right in front of your eyes? Damn, Yichen is too awesome. He can actually get such insane equipment. Now, no one dares to mess with Yichen. There's no one else here. Why don't we just snatch them? Snatch my ass. Someone had already set his sights on these 2 arrows. The moment he touched one of the arrows, his hand exploded. He had just revived and lost 10 levels. Now his hand is gone. He's really unlucky. Serve him right. If he wasn't greedy, he wouldn't have ended up like this. The players of the Resurrection Point looked at the 2 sky tremor arrows floating in the air in disgust. At this moment, the Resurrection Point suddenly lit up. Ha ha! Another unlucky one died. Seeing someone revive, I feel inexplicably happy. F*CK. There's finally someone who's unlucky with me. Wang Xiaoming opened his eyes and glared fiercely at the players who were gloating over his misfortune. Then, with a thought, he prepared to go offline. He had already made up his mind. He was not going to run anymore. He would go offline and go on a killing spree in the real world. He wanted to use people from the real world to cultivate the Blood God Sutra. Of course, the real world was also dangerous. Once his secret was discovered, he would definitely be hunted down by everyone. But even if his secret was discovered and he was hunted down, it was still much safer than facing Yichen. Because Yichen was too abnormal. He was ridiculously strong. Of course, Wang Xiaoming was very certain of Yichen's power now. He was 100% mortal evolution state. It wasn't strange that others didn't know the cultivation realms in the game world. However, how could those who had watched Pangu split the heavens and obtain the Xiantian cultivation technique not know about it when the game first started? Wang Xiaoming had watched Pangu split the heavens, and his Blood God Sutra was a Xiantian cultivation technique. Hence, it wasn't surprising that he knew about it. This was also what Wang Xiaoming was confused about. Yichen's power was clearly at the mortal evolution state, but the world announcement didn't mention it at all. Although Wang Xiaoming didn't understand, he knew one thing. Yichen wasn't someone he could mess with now. Hence, he had to go back to the real world to cultivate. As long as he had the chance, once he became an emperor general, or even an emperor general, he wouldn't have to be afraid of those who also obtained the Xiantian cultivation technique in the safe city he was in. He wanted to use the blood and souls of people in the real world to cultivate the Blood God Sutra until he reached the mortal evolution state. That way, Yichen wouldn't be able to catch him no matter how many soldiers he sent. Once he reached the mortal evolution state, he would be able to use many spells. Other than Yichen, he didn't think that anyone could resist his attacks, unless Yichen was ruthless and guarded the revival point 24/7. However, this situation was impossible because Yichen was definitely going to conquer the world. Once he reached the mortal evolution state and went online again, he could continue to fish for benefits in the game, crazily fish for benefits. Then, he would synchronize the game with reality and increase his power crazily. As long as he was strong to a certain extent, he would be able to find Yichen for revenge. This was Wang Xiaoming's plan. He thought it through very well and was very decisive. However, just as Wang Xiaoming was about to go offline, one of the two heaven-shaking arrows floating outside the revival point suddenly flashed and instantly appeared in front of Wang Xiaoming. A sound was heard. The heaven-shaking arrow instantly pierced through Wang Xiaoming's head. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Wang Xiaoming's head instantly exploded into pieces that filled the sky. Red, white, and splattered everywhere at the revival point. As for the heaven-shaking arrow that killed Wang Xiaoming, it flashed and then disappeared. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Wang Xiaoming, who was killed in an instant, hadn't revived yet. His soul stayed in a special space with a dazed expression. Damn it, didn't I go offline? What the F***CK is going on? Why did I die again? It seems like someone shot me with a bow, an arrow. Yichen? It must be Yichen. Yichen saw through my plan to go offline. Thinking about this, Wang Xiaoming's soul couldn't help but tremble. He didn't expect that not only did Yichen see through his plan, but he also made arrangements to prevent him from going offline. 7 at this moment, in the revival point, Wang Xiaoming's body flashed with white light and then disappeared. Wang Xiaoming's time of death was up, and he automatically revived. A second later, the light of revival appeared again. When the light dissipated, Wang Xiaoming didn't even think and chose to go offline. However, at this moment, the second heaven-shaking arrow flashed and arrived. A sound was heard. Wang Xiaoming's head was once again shot by the heaven-shaking arrow, and he died. The instant Wang Xiaoming died, the second heaven-shaking arrow flashed and then disappeared. Outside Zhuo County City, the heaven-shaking arrow suddenly appeared beside Yichen, who was rushing over. When Yichen saw this, the corner of his mouth curled up. He immediately drew his bow and shot at Zhuo County. Clang! The heaven-shaking arrow instantly left the bowstring and turned into a stream of light that flashed and disappeared. In Zhuo County City, the revival point, the light of revival appeared again. When the light dissipated, Wang Xiaoming quickly chose to go offline. Buzz! A sound was heard. The third heaven-shaking arrow instantly descended and pierced through Wang Xiaoming's head. Wang Xiaoming died again. In the next second, Wang Xiaoming, who was in the revival point, was revived again and opened his eyes. However, the anticipation in his eyes disappeared in an instant. Then he suddenly opened his eyes wide, and his pupils constricted at this moment. This was because he saw the heaven-shaking arrow again, and it arrived in the blink of an eye. Originally, he thought that there wouldn't be any more heaven-shaking arrows to attack him because there were only 3 heaven-shaking arrows in total. However, in the end, when he revived for the 4th time, the heaven-shaking arrow arrived again. It was very obvious that the heaven-shaking arrow directly returned to Yichen's side and was then shot by Yichen to Zhuo County. Yichen! An extremely mournful roar came out of Wang Xiaoming's mouth. A sound was heard. The heaven-shaking arrow once again pierced through Wang Xiaoming's head. Wang Xiaoming died instantly, and his voice came to an abrupt end. Wang Xiaoming, who was in a soul state, didn't choose to revive because he started to feel fear and then despair. He hated Yi Chun, but at this moment, he couldn't hate him anymore. All that was left was fear and despair. Yi Chun was too smart. He had predicted his thoughts. Yi Chun was too ruthless. He didn't leave him any way out. Chapter 358. Once Wang Xiaoming was dead, the resurrection light shone once again. Just as Wang Xiaoming appeared, the sky-quake arrow shot through his head again. He revived again and again, and died again and again. Wang Xiaoming was on the verge of breaking down. He wanted to cry, but he couldn't because he was shot to death the moment he revived. He wanted to beg for mercy, but Yi Chun wasn't there yet. Death, resurrection, death, resurrection. It happened again and again. The players outside the resurrection point were dumbfounded as they watched Wang Xiaoming being shot to death in the resurrection point. They never would have thought that there would be someone in the revival point that Yi Chun wanted dead no matter what. Who is this guy? Did he offend Yi Chun? Who knows? Anyway, this guy is definitely dead. D*MN. How many times has he died in such a short time? His level should be 1 now. I'm not sure. This is the first time I've seen Yi Chun treat someone like this. D*MN. I better not provoke Yi Chun in the future. If I anger Yi Chun, D*MN, I'll be tortured to death. Outside Zhuojuan City, Yi Chun, who had been shooting arrows again and again, finally arrived at the city gate. Greetings, Prefecture Overseer. Everyone shouted in unison. The soldiers at the city gate knelt down on one knee and greeted him loudly. Yi Chun smiled and nodded. He then entered Zhuo County and walked towards the resurrection point. Time slowly passed. By the time Yi Chun arrived at the respawn point, Wang Xiaoming had already died countless times. The players noticed Yi Chun and hurriedly made way for him. When Yi Chun saw this, he smiled and walked towards the respawn point. When he arrived at the resurrection point, Wang Xiaoming, who had died and revived again, was in a daze. His face was filled with despair and his eyes were blank. At this moment, he saw Yi Chun, and a glimmer of light returned to his eyes. However, just as he opened his mouth to beg for mercy, Yi Chun grabbed the God Slayer floating beside him with his right hand and stabbed it. Yi! Wang Xiaoming's pupils shrank when he saw this, and he hurriedly shouted. However, as soon as he said a word, he stopped abruptly. He wanted to beg for mercy. No matter what Yi Chun said, he would agree. He did not want to die. He really did not want to die. However, before he could finish his sentence, the God Slayer pierced his head. At this moment, a black light flashed. Wang Xiaoming's eyes turned gray in an instant. Bang! A loud sound was heard. All the items in Wang Xiaoming's storage space burst out at once. Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain as he glanced at the dead Wang Xiaoming. How could Yi Chun not see what Wang Xiaoming was trying to do when he opened his mouth? He wanted to beg for mercy. Unfortunately, to Yi Chun, Wang Xiaoming had to be killed no matter what. Wang Xiaoming was too vicious. If he was allowed to develop, he would kill countless humans in order to increase his strength. Wang Xiaoming was like that in Yi Chun's previous life. Wang Xiaoming would not change in this life. Moreover, he was hostile towards Yi Chun. It was a deep hostility. Therefore, no matter how much Wang Xiaoming begged for mercy, Yi Chun would not care. Previously, when he was still over level 80, Yi Chun was not sure if the Godslayer's soul-devouring ability could be activated. Later on, Wang Xiaoming was continuously shot to death by the Cosmic Bow, and his level had long since dropped to level 1. Yi Chun was 100% sure that the Godslayer's soul-devouring ability would be activated. The result was just as Yi Chun had predicted. Wang Xiaoming's soul was directly devoured by the Godslayer, and he was deader than dead. In fact, even if it failed, Yi Chun did not care. When Wang Xiaoming revived again, he would continue to kill him with the Godslayer. If the first time was not enough, he would try twice. If the second time was not enough, he would try thrice. In the end, the Godslayer's soul-devouring ability would be activated. Thinking of this, Yi Chun could not help but raise his eyebrows. He then looked at the items that had dropped. In the next second, Yi Chun locked onto a blood-red lotus seed on the ground. Sure enough, it was on him. The lotus seed on the ground had no other special features other than its blood-red color. No one would be able to tell what was different about it. However, Yi Chun knew the origin of this lotus seed. There were 4 12-grade lotus platforms in the Eldritch world, and this blood-red lotus seed was one of the 4 12-grade lotus platforms, the red lotus of hellfire. It could be swallowed or used to refine weapons. However, for Yi Chun, this was not the greatest use of this lotus seed. The red lotus of hellfire was a primordial treasure. It was both offensive and defensive. It could release endless red lotus hellfire to burn everything. Its defensive power was also among the best in the Eldritch world. Very few things could break through the 4 12-grade lotus platforms. For Yi Chun, as long as his strength was sufficient, he would definitely snatch the red lotus of hellfire. Primordial treasures were unique. How could Yi Chun choose to ignore a primordial treasure like the red lotus of hellfire, which was both offensive and defensive? Moreover, the red lotus of hellfire had not yet appeared in the world. It was still ownerless. Yi Chun had enough reasons to snatch it, and the lotus seed on the ground was the key to finding the red lotus of hellfire. Because the red lotus of hellfire was hidden in the boundless blood sea of the Eldritch world and was covered by a primordial formation. Without the lotus seed's guidance, one would not be able to find the red lotus of hellfire, no matter how hard one tried. Unless one became a sage-to-be, one could not even think about it. Of course, if one was not powerful enough, one could rush into the blood sea. Even with the lotus seed's guidance, it would be useless. One would die there. The boundless blood sea was not a place to play. It was the territory of the Nether River Patriarch. Even if Yi Chun ascended to the Eldritch world and advanced 3 or 5 realms, he would not be a match for the Nether River Patriarch. Moreover, even if Yi Chun had the Godslayer, it would not work. The gap between realms was too big. It cannot be made up by a primordial treasure. Moreover, the Nether River Patriarch had 2 primordial treasures, Yuan-Tu and Abi. They were not something that the incomplete Godslayer could resist. Of course, if the Godslayer recovered to its complete state, the Nether River Patriarch would probably cry. In terms of killing power, the complete Godslayer was much more powerful than Yuan-Tu and Abi. Of course, Yi Chun knew this. Therefore, Yi Chun had never thought of looking for the red lotus of hellfire after ascending to the Eldritch world. To get the red lotus of hellfire, he had to find it first. Then, he could rely on the lotus seed to find the red lotus of hellfire immediately. Of course, there was a prerequisite. He had to be powerful enough. Otherwise, it would be a waste. However, this did not stop Yi Chun from making preparations in advance. Moreover, Yi Chun was confident that he could quickly improve his strength after ascending to the Eldritch world. Because what Yi Chun was doing in the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms was to prepare for his ascension to the Eldritch world. He had to get the red lotus of hellfire no matter what. Thinking of this, Yi Chun smiled. Then he picked up the blood-red lotus seed on the ground and put it into his storage space. Glancing at the other items on the ground, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. Then, he turned and walked towards the Castellan's mansion. Chapter 359. Zhua County, City Lord's Mansion. The moment Yi Chun arrived, the Samsara Legion, which had been waiting for him, all knelt on one knee. Then they shouted, "We greet the Lord!" Guan Er and Zhang San hurriedly stepped forward and bowed loudly. "Greetings, Lord!" Yi Chun nodded with a smile and said, "Let's go back." "Yes, Lord." Guan Er and Zhang San bowed in unison and followed Yi Chun to the City Lord's mansion. City Lord's mansion, hall. As soon as Yi Chun entered, he saw a fat, middle-aged man talking to Gua irrespectfully. Gua Yi, who was about to speak, saw Yi Chun and hurriedly left the middle-aged man to welcome Yi Chun. He then bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord." When the middle-aged man saw this, he was slightly taken aback and hurriedly bowed to Yi Chun respectfully and humbly. "I, Su Shuang, greet your excellency." When Yi Chun heard this, he could not help but be taken aback. He did not expect this fat man to be the short-lived horse dealer Su Shuang. Glancing at Su Shuang, Yi Chun nodded and asked, I heard that your caravan has 1,000 caddies of wrought iron, right? When Su Shuang heard this, he could not help but be taken aback. However, he didn't expect Yi Chun to know about this matter and even ask about it personally. However, Su Shuang did not dare to delay and hurriedly bowed. Your Excellency, there is indeed 1,000 caddies of wrought iron in my caravan. Very well, I want all your 1,000 caddies of wrought iron. I'll give you 1,000,000 gold. Are you willing? Yi Chun nodded and said. When Su Shuang heard this, he was stunned. 1,000 caddies of wrought iron was worth 1,000 gold at most. How could it be worth 1,000,000 gold? However, Yi Chun said 1,000,000 gold. How could Su Shuang not be stunned? This price was simply sky high. In the next second, cold sweat broke out on Su Shuang's forehead because he suddenly thought of something. He was a horse merchant who traveled back and forth between the territories of the Great Han Dynasty and the Great Han Dynasty all year round. He sold the goods of the Great Han Dynasty to the Great Han Dynasty and sold the horses of the Great Han Dynasty to the Great Han Dynasty. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that he was a horse dealer, but there was actually wrought iron in his caravan. Wrought iron was a controlled item. Anyone would think that his caravan was carrying so much wrought iron with them that he was trying to collude with the foreign races. It was obvious that Yi Chun wanted to kill him. Thinking of this, Su Shuang knelt on the ground with a plop and then shouted in horror, Lord Prefecture Overseer, this lowly one has always abided by the law. I have never colluded with the enemy. Please, Lord Prefecture Overseer. When Yi Chun heard this, he could not help but be stunned. Then, he realized what Su Shuang was thinking. In history, Su Shuang had never colluded with the enemy. If Yi Chun had not intervened in the Oath of the Peach Garden, Su Shuang's 1,000 wrought iron would have ended up in the hands of Emperor Liu. This was because in history, Su Shuang had been tricked by the big-eared thief Emperor Liu. Then, he had given the wrought iron to Emperor Liu, as well as some war horses, food, and other items. Of course, Emperor Liu had already been killed by Yi Chun. He could not be more dead. Looking at the terrified Su Shuang, Yi Chun frowned and said, I know that you have never colluded with the enemy. I know that you haven't colluded with the enemy. I said 1,000,000 because there should be a piece of outer space black iron in your magnetite. Yi Chun frowned. It was not because Su Shuang had helped Emperor Liu in history, but because Su Shuang had disappointed Yi Chun. Originally, Yi Chun had not thought of meeting Su Shuang, but now that he had met him, he decided to observe him and see if he could be used. The result was obvious. Su Shuang was just an ordinary merchant. There was nothing special about him, and he could not even be used. When Su Shuang heard this, he was stunned. He was frightened. He thought about this and that, but he did not expect that Yi Chun would say 1,000,000 gold because of this. He really did not know that there was outer Xian iron in his wrought iron. If Yi Chun had not said it, he would still be in the dark. After coming back to his senses, Su Shuang let out a long breath and tried to steady his beating heart. Then he respectfully said, Lord Province Overseer, this lowly one is willing to give the wrought iron and outer Xian iron to Lord Province Overseer to help Lord Province Overseer quell the rebellion and destroy the Yao race. There is no need to give it to me. I am not as shameless as the big-eared thief. 1,000,000 gold it is. Yi Chun waved his right hand, and a box of gold coins appeared in front of Su Shuang. For Yi Chun, it was just a little money. There was no need to owe a merchant a favor. Moreover, Yi Chun did not lack this money. Otherwise, he would not have directly said 1,000,000 gold and pointed out that there was outer Xian iron in the 1,000 caddies of wrought iron. If it were someone else, 99% of them would accept it without hesitation. Unfortunately, Yi Chun would not. Pointing to the box of gold coins on the ground, Yi Chun said, This is 1,000,000 gold. Keep it well, and then ask someone to send the wrought iron and outer Xian iron. When Su Shuang saw this, he could not help but be stunned. He did not expect that Yi Chun would be so swift and decisive. Moreover, he did not have the slightest intention of taking advantage of him. For Su Shuang, if it was 1,000 gold, he really did not care. However, 1,000,000 gold was painful for him. However, The result was that Yi Chun did not accept his gift at all. After coming back to his senses, Su Shuang bowed respectfully and said, "Yes, Lord Province Overseer." 1,000,000 gold was not a small sum. Yi Chun actually ignored it. Su Shuang naturally respected him. Yi Chun nodded and said, "Send the wrought iron and outer Xian iron as soon as possible." "Yes, Lord Province Overseer. This lowly one will go now." When Su Shuang heard this, he hurriedly bowed and left the city lord's mansion. As soon as Su Shuang left, Guan Er and Zhang San knelt on one knee with a bang and then loudly bowed. "This general swears to follow the Lord until death. If this oath is violated, may the heavens and earth destroy us." How could the two of them not know why Yi Chun bought the outer Xian iron at such a high price? Wasn't it to make suitable weapons for the two of them? 1,000,000 gold coins was a huge sum. The two of them could not take out even 1% of it. Zhang San was a butcher. Although he had some assets, it could not be more than 100 gold coins. On the other hand, Guan Er was an exiled person. It would be good if he could take out 1 silver coin. Therefore, the two of them could not afford the outer Xian iron no matter what. But now, Yi Chun directly spent 1,000,000 gold coins to buy the outer Xian iron. How could the two of them not be moved by such a lord? How could they not be grateful? Yi Chun glanced at Guan Er and Zhang San, who were inexplicably excited. He nodded with a smile and then said, "In the future, on the battlefield, you must bravely kill the enemy and kill all the enemies of the samsara." When Guan Er and Zhang San heard this, their faces immediately turned solemn. Then they cupped their fists and bowed loudly, "Yes, Lord." Seeing this, Yi Chun nodded with satisfaction. At this moment, a soldier of the Samsara Legion came to the hall and knelt on one knee. "Lord, General Zhao Yun, General Dian Xiong, General Gao Shun, and General Zhao Meng have led the army to Zhou County." That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.